didn't, God, I was so angry, so. I've gone through. No, don't, sorry. Alex, did that get posted today? Not yet, but it will. End of day. Actually, midday. As soon as I get back, maybe.
Hey everyone, I don't know if they told you something was on sale on the 5th floor or something, but you're mistaken. There's a big crowd here today. Everyone's here for bonus points or something. This will be the workshop for, the regular meeting. And once again, we are being taped, and it looks like we are being videotaped finally for this also. So people will be able to watch the live stream on Zoom or on YouTube after the meeting concludes. Anyone here from IT?
Yes. Oh, right here. Myself, hold on.
Tim, why, let me ask a question before we get started. We will. Why do we have to, why is there an hour delay or whatever before it's on YouTube? Why isn't it live on there? Why can't
it does take time to render. Yes. So you to upload the video. Is it possible to do it live across YouTube? Is it something we need to look into? Right now. Okay. That has to be. Okay, yeah, so we can definitely research that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've had questions, a lot of people have had questions why, you know, they don't understand the whole Zoom, how do you do that stuff, how do you watch live stream?
Right.
Or they go to YouTube on their app or whatever on the phone, they watch, but they don't wanna be able to watch it live.
Since Commissioner Malloy brought it up, Alana, are we on video right now?
No, not right now, I can start it.
Yeah, go ahead and start the video up.
Okay.
One of the issues that we have had is, of course, one is the video. Right now, I'm gonna shut those blinds back there, but right now, Commissioner, we have the camera back there, is able to stream through, which means we're catching the back of your head.
Those are good.
So, as long as you're good with that, yeah. So that is one thing. Now, it does capture the room. Two is that Falana has the microphone. For if there's somebody back here along the back wall that is presenting, like we had last week, the microphones that are on the table aren't gonna pick that up. Falana does have the wireless microphone, which she can pass around and the individuals can use. You'll hear it through the speakers in here, and you'll be able to hear it through the Zoom call as well. All right?
Okay, very good. Yep. Thank you. Okay, Madam Clerk.
Mr. Cantala Mesa,
Here.
Mr. Malloy,
Here.
Ms. Frenchco.
Okay, item number 1, dispense with the reading of the minutes. Approve the bills. Number 3, approve additional appropriations. Auditor Yoder.
This is Martha Yoder, Trumbull County Auditor. The first one, just so you know, is also corresponds with, item number 5 on your agenda. Item number 6 on your agenda. the amended certificate. And it is $640,000 for the health board. It is loan proceeds for the new purchase of their new building. The Park District is, the modification number 1 to contract with Bowman Appraisal Services, and it was approved by the commissioners on 9/27/23, and it's for $6,150. The other one is under the commissioners, and it is, $601,854.99, for the planning roof, the engineering floodplain, and the tag vehicle, and it's 2 different funds. The 077 is the planning roof and engineering floodplain, and the, 928 is for the tag vehicle that was approved.
Before we get to 4, Martha, I'm gonna talk about some things here real quick. First, health board. That is something, is anyone here from the health board? Okay, they did get the building in Cortland, so that is a big deal here. We are moving the county health department's moving out of Warren into Cortland. Some people say, well, why isn't it in Warren? Why isn't it in Warren? It's gotta be in Warren. The county health board doesn't serve the citizens of Warren. So everybody that went to that facility for something live outside of the city limits of Warren. So a lot of those people are septic permits, things like that are mostly in the northern part of the county, northern 2/3 of the county. So the move to Cortland is actually serving its user base better than it would be right down here in downtown Warren, and making people come into the downtown area. For the employees, they like it also. There's no city tax for them to pay now. They're saving some money there. By that move, I think there's 39 active employees, 65 total employees or something they have. But to spread our wings a little bit and increase our footprint for county government to get out to the people, this is a win-win for everybody. It's gonna be very convenient for parking, very convenient. If someone needs to run in and out of the health board for any reason, they have ample parking. They don't have very much competition traffic-wise or anything. For the employees itself, it's nice new accommodations. If you saw where they worked before, it was like working in the dog pound. They were basically stacked on top of each other. They had no storage. People had their cubicles with paperwork stacked up to their eyeballs. This is a major win for all of us in Trumbull County, for the citizens and for the commissioners and for the employees. And I think in the long run, it's gonna be beneficial not only to them, but to the citizens for the convenience factor. We are also looking at the possibility of 911 moving to the same building upstairs. That's something that we're, based on a feasibility study and more discussion. Again, that could be a win-win for everybody there by them being centrally located in the county. There's a lot of officers that have to travel into 911 for various reasons from throughout the county. Conditions-wise, again, moving out of the basement of a morgue into a newer building where they have windows and fresh air, and they can walk downstairs and go to a coffee shop next door and get lunch and stuff that's convenient for the employees to take a break, or at least walk on the sidewalk and take a look and see Mosquito Lake from the top of the hill and smell some fresh air. You know, it's gonna be relaxing and beneficial for the employees and staff. So, although it's just a line item on one agenda item here of $650,000, you know, this is big. I'm proud our Board of Health did this, and wanna thank everyone involved that got involved with this, starting with the mayor of Cortland, who initially they wanted to buy the building. They're the ones that alerted us to it, and Farmers National Bank made it possible. They came up with a good price. We got some assistance from our Port Authority and some other economic engines in the valley on how the best way for the health department to do this, to make it fit. And they have the money to do it. They did it, and this is big. This is big news. First, say that it's bigger than just a line item on here. Secondly, 2 down from that, commissioners, you know, we've talked about the engineer building, and that was something that was disputed back and forth, and gonna interrupt service for the northern tier, and this and that. We're working on it as quickly as we can, and this proves it right here. We come up with the money, they've come up with the architecture bids, I believe Bill has been working on, and we're gonna get that done as quick as possible too. So this is good government functioning as it should. So both of those things, I don't want to be overlooked as just being a quick little line item in number 3. You know, this is big victories for all of us in this room here that this stuff has happened. Okay, with that said, Martha, you can continue on number 4.
All right, and I wanna, Martha Yoder, Trumbull County Auditor, I'm gonna turn some of this over to Bob for the sanitary engineers, but I do wanna point out that we do have a numbering issue here. Item number 4 should continue to the next page and then go to 5, and it looks like we have it,
It did, it
okay.
renumbered it.
Yeah, I hate when that happens.
It did, I apologize for that, I'll get that fixed.
It's okay. I just wanted to point it out, and I'll let, Bob go and do his.
Bob Maiorano, Trumbull County Sanitary Engineers. We are transferring $3,000 because of a Munis contract extension for 2024. We had a work order portion of it, and we're splitting that with the highway. We didn't intend to split it, but we're using it a little bit more, so we took on the burden, so we needed to move an additional $3,000 to cover our share. The $150 is for additional background checks for new employees. The $1,500 is for operational supplies for our engineering, surveying, and GIS people. And the last one is $1,848. That's for our Hubbard Water District to reimburse our Brookfield Water District for the general obligation fund.
Martha Yoder, Trumbull County Auditor, moving along. There's 2 there for the Planning Commission, $400 for additional office supplies for year end and the beginning of next year, and then $853 for Microsoft Office 365, as we continue to roll that out to all of our departments. There should be, actually, another one is also Planning Commission, but it's under Community Development, and that's $2,000 for the ESRI yearly subscription that has to do with their GIS system. Health Board is $1,000, it's contract with other entities. The Health Board is $18,380. It's to cover shortfall food service and operation supplies, newly created utilities appropriations, which they'll need as they move forward. And then the $18,380, hold on, I'm sorry, $18,112, where's that? Okay, I'm sorry, and that's to close the fiscal year 23 grant. Under highway, there's $35,000, it's cost increases, and again, our wonderful Microsoft 365 as we roll that out, $3,000 for a loan payment. NeoCap, $69,060 is to cover unexpected increase in their building and professional liability insurance, $500 for domestic relations, and also another $1,445.95 for domestic relations, and those are to cover an interpreter. Under the prosecutors, $410 is an increase in furniture and fixture account, $725 is an increase in office equipment account, $176 is an increase in grant employees account. Building inspection, $4,000 is needed for office supplies. Actually, they have 2, $4,000 and $2,000 are both for office supplies. The one that says auditor is really, kind of a combination of things because they're in the same fund, but one is actually on behalf of the commissioners, and that's the family court floor coverings, and then the Munis report. JFS is $800. It's an increase in cost of items required to support admin and operations. And then the $45,000 for the commissioners is the agreement between the Planning Commission and the Regional Chamber for Economic Development, and that was approved by the commissioners on 9/13/23. And I just want to say all the items in item number 4, again, are transfers within funds, line item to line item. They're just journalized as a matter of course. And then now it's item number 6, but will be item number 5 tomorrow. The amended certificate, that goes back to the loan proceeds. We did that within the Budget Commission on 10/16. We amended the certificate.
All right, thank you, Martha Yoder. Tomorrow, I'm gonna move the other end of the table.
Okay.
Because between your head and my head together, we're either moving the camera or we're moving.
Sounds good.
Between my glare and your glare.
Yeah.
And I'm sure someone would have some comments about that, so I'll, sure, there we go. Okay, next item, to approve or deny construction of county project number 5S18, the Yankee Lake Sanitary Sewer Improvement Project located in Yankee Lake Village of Brookfield Township. Gary?
Yeah, Gary Newbrow, sanitary engineer. Commissioners, as you are aware, we had the public hearing on October 12th, and the results of it indicate that of the 51 connections, 4 were opposed, 47 of them are in support of the project, so it gives us a 92.16% approval rating.
Okay, and the 4 opposed are mainly for the financial reasons?
Yes.
And this is something, as we saw there, this is a heck of a deal here. We got state grant stuff with this that, I mean, these people don't even really even have to tie in themselves unless they make more than $90,000. The only fee they really have is the $1,800 tap-in fee. So if you live in that, if you're one of those 51 people or whatever, they're getting a deal that could never be matched again in this county with as much financial aid put into this.
Yes.
And it is gonna service Yankee Lake Ballroom, Yankee Lake Restaurant, Yankee Lake Carryout, which in that area is all they have there. It's something, it's an institution that's been there for, you know, over 100 years, and it's part of our history here. So for them to be able to flourish there, and maybe even enhance the property more than what it is, it's a win-win for that whole region.
Right, yeah, on my grant applications, I even mentioned, the historical significance of the Yankee Lake Ballroom. I mean, it was, constructed during the big band area. We had acts like Duke Ellington out there.
Right.
So, I mean, for the historical and cultural value of this project, it really scored us well on the grant application.
And it is much needed. I talked to residents at that meeting that whenever there was a big function at Yankee Lake, they said they could smell the sewage, and the one guy even said he can tell what they were serving for dinner the next day because of the sewage that was through the neighborhood.
I would just like to add, Commissioner, that, Mauro Cantala Mesa, Commissioner, without Gary's, grant application and being scored one of the top in the state, can't be overlooked, for the principal forgiveness.
Yes.
This wouldn't have happened without the commissioners contributing ARPA money. This wouldn't have happened without Senator O'Brien, obtaining that grant as well. Then Senator O'Brien obtaining that grant, this wouldn't be possible. So it's really a collective effort by a lot of state and local officials, so appreciate it.
All right.
Good. Okay, next item. Authorize the engineering firm of MS Consultants to provide the technical services listed below with regard to the Crane Drive Sanitary Sewer Improvements Project, project number 7S22, in Weathersfield Township, and enter into engineering agreement with MS Consultants for said professional services in an amount not to exceed $348,637.
Gary Newbrow, sanitary engineer. Commissioners, this is, that project out in Weathersfield to, extend the sewer past the limits of our McKinley Heights Phase 2 project. And this will extend the sewers into an LMI area. There's approximately 65 connections here. And, we also have an OPWC grant application in right now on this, but this is to have the engineering done. And you awarded me the ARP funds for the engineering, the design engineering contract, and that's what this is.
Okay. Next item 9 on the agenda here, to approve the personnel action for the employment of Mr. Keith Ames for the position of sewer line maintenance assistant with Trumbull County Sanitary Engineers, effective November 6th, pay range $15.64 an hour.
Commissioners, Bob Moreno, sanitary engineers. We have 2 openings for our sewer line maintenance assistant. These positions are hard to fill because they require a Class D CDL. I think we've posted it 4 times and not had anyone that was even interested in coming in for an interview. This time, we had 7 candidates. 2 of them actually had CDLs, and at this point, we intend to hire both of them. The other individual should be on next week, but Keith, passed his drug test, passed his background check, and passed a, federal motor carrier clearinghouse query, so he's all set to go and excited to come here.
Very good. Number 10, approve personnel actions for employment of Mr. Bradley Bolus for the position of laborer with Trumbull County Sanitary Engineers Department effective October 26th, pay range 3, $14.45 an hour.
So there's a little wrinkle in Bradley's, agenda item. He actually took his drug test before with Keith Ames, and I have not got his results back from his drug test yet. So Gary and I were talking on the way here, and we're thinking we need to postpone it, but Gary offered up if the drug test could come in today. Normally it takes 2 or 3 days. Today's day 7. I didn't know if you guys want me to pull it.
And maybe we should just table tomorrow if that drug test doesn't come in.
I feel more comfortable tabling it until the drug test. That's our policy. We've done that.
Right, well, let's wait till tomorrow to table it, is
Okay,
what I'm saying,
fine.
because it may come in.
Yeah, if you can make a phone call after this meeting or something and see, and then it's
But if
days,
it's not,
if you know today, I'll just pull it off there
Okay,
before tomorrow. if we
we'll
know
let
today.
Lisa know if it's
Prior to
come
the
in
meeting.
today,
Yeah.
Okay. And we had the gentleman that resigned last week, he was number 1, Bradley was number 2, we had 18 applicants, and we just called him up and said, you know,
Still interested?
still interested, and he went right out and did his drug test, and was surprised that we haven't got it back, it's never been this long.
All right, number 11, approve modification number 2, the existing professional services agreement with Phillips Mechanic Architects related to providing technical specs for the voter access and roof improvements for Trumbull County Board of Elections building at a cost of $24,700. Modification number 1 was needed for the rebid process and asbestos redesign in the amount of $6,600. Modification number 2 is needed due to the requiring additional design services, including review and approval of alternative roofing installation, on-site meeting inspections of additional pool tests, and on-site meeting approval of proposed parapet rehabilitation in the amount of $49.50, and authorize me to execute any documents necessary to effectuate the agreement. Mike?
Commissioners, good morning. Mike Solinsky, Trumbull County Building Department. This has to do with the Board of Elections. The professional service agreement that we entered into with Phillips Mechanic covered the voter access and the roof. So modification number 1 to that professional services in the amount of $6,600 was 2 years ago. It had to do with the voter access. This one is specifically with the roof and with the problems we've been experiencing, getting a new roof layer on and to adhere to what's up there. The good news is we're trending in the right direction, and this modification is $4,950. This is the last modification. As of last week, we were about 60% done with the roof. We're gonna have good weather this week. They're gonna really knock it out. And this should be the end of the expenses for this project that's been going on for 2 years at the Board of Elections. So I don't anticipate any more expenses after this. And we are nearing completion. It will be done, knock on wood, by the time we get to inclement weather.
Okay, Mike, this says modification number 2,
Yes.
and it says total cost $24,700, but then when you get into modification number 2, in the
So-
paragraph underneath, it says $49.50.
All right, so the original contract we entered into with Phillips Mechanic was $24,700.
Okay?
Modification number 1 took it to, it was for $6,600, and then modification number 2 was $49.50. So now our total professional service agreement with Phillips Mechanic is gonna be $36,250. Is what it should total out. And that should be the end of this project.
Okay, and what's the status with Boken and Sons with the roof?
We're moving right along. I mean, we've had our problems, we've had a lot of problems out there. We've been able to work through them, and that's where this $4,900 is going. They got a problem, we've got to run out there, stop what we're doing, run out there and give them directives on how to fix it.
Right.
So that's been an ongoing process for the last 3 weeks, and we're getting through it. I mean, we're working well together, we're getting through it.
Very good.
They've been very professional.
When do we estimate substantial completion?
I would, hopefully by the end of the month, but let's go into November a little bit, because it's weather contingent, you know, and we don't hit any more snags. But I think we're more than 60% done. That 60% was last week's estimate. And they're up there working, so, and, you know.
Take advantage of the good weather and get it
Yeah,
done.
and we've just about been all over that whole roof, so we shouldn't have any more surprises up there. We had problems the whole way. But it was, yes.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't want you to interrupt what you're saying.
That's
I just want- Martha Yoder, Trumbull County Auditor. So the total $36,250 is gonna be added to the cost of the roof replacement, where we're at $558,459 right
Yes.
now. So I have to add that to that on my
Yes.
spreadsheet.
So I've got the total cost of our contract with both
Okay,
is $558,459, that's your number.
right,
And then the soft cost on the project, professional services, Phillips Mechanic, $36,250,
okay,
$594,709 total project cost,
all right.
construction cost.
I will adjust my spreadsheet, thank you.
Thank you.
Do you want me to total this, these three figures?
No,
Okay, I can do it in the,
I don't think we need to for this, I mean, we're just
Okay.
asking for.
Okay.
Okay. Next item, to receive and place on file monthly activities for Trumbull County Dog Kennel for month of September 23. And to concur with Trumbull County Engineer to grant the right-of-way permits requested by the companies listed. Workman Excavating, ASW Pipeline,
Steve Gerber with the engineer's office, their routine right-of-way permits, once to ditch and install a catch basin. ASW is a contractor for Dominion, and they were repairing a gas.
and next, concur with Trumbull County Engineer to grant special annual supplier fleet permits for fleet vehicles, transport aggregate, concrete, construction goods, and other material, not to exceed 80,000 pounds. FedEx Freight, Dayton Freight Lines, Chagrin Oil and Gas.
These are routine annual permits for these, they're all renewals, they've had permits in the past.
Okay, thank you, Steve. Okay, number 15, to approve the satisfaction of mortgage for Paula Johnson. Ms. Johnson was assisted through Trumbull County's CHIP program in 2011. The mortgage was filed on July 8, 2011, and the contract amount of $37,350. The CHIP mortgage for a 5-year declining term with 15% due upon sale or transfer of the property. Ms. Johnson has satisfied all terms and conditions and Ohio Community Development Program Policy 2102. Julie Green?
Billy Green, Trumbull County Planning Commission. This is a, standard satisfaction of mortgage. As you know, our office administers the CHIP and the home program. And because of, turnover in staff over the years, these weren't tracked as well as when Lisa Ramsey did the job. And so, as we find them, we release them, because if their mortgage is up, we wanna make sure they are up. And so we do, a regular, review of old files to try and identify all of these, mortgages that have been placed on the record books, but then never formally released.
Okay. Number 16, authorize Trumbull County Planning Commission to prepare and submit a pre-application to the Ohio Department of Development for PY 2023 CDBG Residential Public Infrastructure Grant Program for a maximum amount not to exceed $750,000 for the proposed Meadowbrook Sanitary Sewer Project located in a low and moderate income consent decree area of Warren Township. And authorize Denny Malloy, President of the Board, to execute any and all documents related for pre-application. Julie again?
Billy Green, Trumbull County Planning Commission. Emily Moran, the grants coordinator, is, utilizing a lot of the materials already prepared by Director Newbrow to put together a letter of interest on this project. It's my understanding that, the OWDA loan application will be submitted.
So WPCLF was submitted in September, and we are awaiting their determination as to the principal forgiveness. Like I mentioned before, that should max out the points, we should get $4 million of principal forgiveness on that. And, I'm waiting for their decision any day.
And this is our top rated, top priority,
Yes,
application thing you turned in?
yes, and I'm hoping that this scores #1 in the state. as we have the PTI and all the, environmental reports, everything you can imagine that needs to be done for this project is already been submitted.
How many homes will this affect?
The initial phase, we're looking at, I wanna say 200, but once we get through all of the entire build-out, you're looking at over 700 connections.
Wow.
And the process, Julie Green, the process for applying for the competitive grant, it does take a while. So if we wanted to start early to make sure it would be available for when the rest of Gary's funding becomes available. So it's a challenge to coordinate all of those funding streams so that they're all available at one time, because a lot of times they'll say that we want to be the last in funding source. Well, somebody has to be first. And so, one of the requirements for the CDBG RPIG is that you have a PTI in hand before you apply. And since we do have that, we'll be starting the application process. We expect it to be awarded hopefully before this fiscal year ends. We'll have to have a public hearing on it. I know there's been public hearings, or will be public hearings, but we have to have them separate for CDBG. And, hopefully we'll have this, scored high, and, which they typically do for consent decree areas, and in place by next summer. Hope.
Okay, great job to both of you on this. It's a big project.
Thanks.
Okay, next, 17, approve the selection of GPD Group as the most qualified engineering firm to provide professional services for the Girard Multi-Generational Center Gym Roof Replacement Activity, part of PY 2023 CDBG Allocation Program, and authorize Trumbull County Planning Commission to enter negotiations with GPD Group to develop a final price proposal for the necessary construction admin work. Julie again.
Julie Green, Trumbull County Planning. I'd like to thank Michael Slawinski for assisting in this. Each year, we have a pre-qualified list of engineering firms that are submitted through the Commissioner's Office. We selected 3 firms and ranked those firms, myself, Emily, and Mr. Slawinski did also, and they were ranked the highest for this particular work. And not to skip ahead, but it's basically the same thing for 18 and 19. They're different projects, but they're all under the same, PY 2023 CDBG Community Development Allocation Program that we apply for and receive every 2 years.
Okay, number 18 is for the Howland Scope Center improvement. Number 19 is for the Emmanuel Community Care Center masonry and windows activity.
And just to also mention, this is just to select them as the most qualified and enter into price negotiations. We don't have a grant agreement yet from the state unless sometimes it's sent to your office and we just don't see it, so we check, see if it's come in or not. Once we have the grant agreement in place and returned, once we have the environmental review completed, then we'll be able to award a contract or an agreement.
Okay, number 18. Authorize stormwater and sewer projects from the American Rescue Plan Act, ODOT Diverging Diamond Waterline Relocation Program. And this is the ARPA that we approved, the expenditures of $167,250 to move the water line.
Yes, Commissioner. Yeah, this was discussed, I didn't know it was on today's agenda, though.
Then put it on.
I'm wondering, okay, Jim Masaki sent it up, so I guess this step wasn't taken yet. But as you know, there is a water line that is in conflict with the Diverging Diamond, project out there. And ODOT is charging us, well, an estimated charge of over $700,000, for the cost of the relocation of that water line. And, we are asking for the commissioners for this much for the $167,250 to help us pay that bill. We've also have some, our replacement improvement fee money that we had already, earmarked for this. And we're also investigating some funds from Eastgate through the CMAQ program.
What's the status of that, Gary? CMAQ?
I wouldn't say that it's looking good. Commissioner Frenchco is the one who said that she has this $250,000 she talked to Eastgate for the CMAQ funds. I called down there and, Gary, we'll get back to you on that. Well, tell me what I need to do, what actions do I need, what do I need to submit, what can I do to get access to this? We'll get back to you on that. So I'm not really getting, warm and fuzzy about that CMAQ funding out of Eastgate.
Okay. Let's try to follow up again this week on that, and see if we can hear
Okay.
anything, and,
What does that do to our improvement fund, if we have to absorb the entire?
Well, we have time now, right, Bob?
Yeah.
Didn't we go into an agreement with them, we're gonna pay this $700-some thousand?
Twice a year for 3.
Okay,
So, yeah, so we have a little
sort of
bit.
softens the blow a little bit.
Yes.
and item 19 goes with, the first one. This is enter an agreement between Board of Trumbull County Commissioners, ODOT, as approved by Baker, Dubliger, Beck, Wiley, and Matthews, ARPA Legal Counsel for ODOT to relocate an existing 10-inch water line for the development of the diversion diamond interchange to maintain water service for over 2,400 residents, as described in Exhibit A, and this is the 167-250. While we're on this, they did start this project this past weekend, and as people saw in the news, they took half the bridge down on, Route 82 over Route 46, and this weekend already was an absolute traffic nightmare mess. My phone lit up all weekend long with people waiting at red lights, through 3 or 4 red lights just to get through the light on Howland Wilson. I think we need to appeal immediately to the state and to the engineer. We have to figure something out with this, because we're not even in the Christmas season. We're not into Bass Pro Shop grand opening. There's gonna be a massive amount of traffic, probably 10-fold or more, maybe 30-fold, heading toward the mall area over the next 2 months. And if people are already experiencing this on the first weekend of it, I mean, people are not used to it. Some of the locals will get pissed off and find alternate ways and do other things. But if you're coming in from the east, it's gonna be a massive problem. And we have to really stress, if you're coming to that region, we want you to come to that region, but do some scouting in advance, maybe take 422, maybe take North Road and come in the backside.
But North Road is jammed up with
North
traffic.
North Road's
Like, literally, I mean,
Yeah.
it's lined up from, 422, and the traffic starts getting congested around.
Back to Atlantic.
Almost, I would say closer to the most magnificent McDonald's
Yeah.
on Market.
And it's only gonna get worse.
Yeah.
It's only gonna get worse as you get, people outside the area that wanna come for the Bass Pro Shop opening. That draws people from 9 counties around us.
Right.
There're gonna be a bulk of the people that go there that aren't familiar with this area at all, and they're gonna look at what Google tells them to do. And they need to work with Google to reroute everything and pretend like 46 and 82 doesn't even exist.
Yeah.
And we need to, we got a TID meeting tomorrow. One of our top priorities is gonna be a turning lane on Mines Road behind the mall to get people out of there, get people in from the backside there. But this is a logistical nightmare mess, and I don't know, there's no way to sugarcoat it. We need to stress the engineer and ODOT. They need signage, they need action, they need, alternative route marking, and we need to do everything possible, because we've got a great asset there. This is gonna increase our tax base tremendously with all the activity that's going on at the mall region right now, between Myers and the opening of all the other stores they have there, and now this, I can't stress enough, Bass Pro Shop is an anchor store is being put into an already existing big traffic area that there's gonna be hundreds of thousands of people that wanna come here during the holiday season, and if they can't get here, or if they have a bad experience getting here, they're not coming back. They're gonna go online after that, and it's gonna be one and done, and we can't have that.
Yeah.
There's no way in the world we can have that. So, there's nothing we can do about the length of the project. It's gonna be good when it's all said and done. But the problem is, we've gotta suffer for the next 3 years. But we need to be all hands on deck to make this a little less painful for everybody that needs to go to that region. I mean, there's people that have anxiety and social anxiety that don't like traffic, and they are not gonna go to this thing. And I mean, not only that, but then you get a wreck or two mixed in there somewhere, a fender bender. We're gonna be taking, Howland Township police officers and sheriff's deputies and highway patrol and everybody out of doing other stuff because of the mess we created. So, any thoughts on that from anybody here? Kind of all of our problems right now.
It is, and especially the business owners that are there as well, that they're gonna see potential people being, I'm not gonna go there, I'm just not gonna make it, and it's gonna hurt their bottom line.
There's doctor's offices, there's
Yeah.
grocery stores, there's all kind of retail in that corridor there. And I don't want people saying, how will they jumping on Route 11 and going to Southern Park Mall,
Right.
right? Because they don't wanna deal with it, or going to Shenango Valley Mall,
Right.
because it would be better to drive there and not deal with traffic than it will be to fight in our own county. Alexandra, you
I
have
just
some
wanted to
input?
make sure, I know you were talking about this weekend, but I do wanna make sure that everybody knows here yesterday, there was at least 4 to 5 reported accidents. I mean, legitimate accidents, and I know Howland PD had a hard time getting through. It's larger than just, and I hate to say this, but it's larger than just our, economy, it's also people's lives. So I really do think that we need to, if we can get a hold of ODOT or the engineer, where are the signs? Where are the detour signs? Where is the communication? I mean, it just says bridge closed. I mean, we've gotta be a little bit better than that, I would hope.
We had a conversation with
Sorry.
Eastgate
Nope.
ODOT
Life,
Engineer's
you know?
office 2 Fridays ago. And they were talking about the signage, they were talking about the blinking signs, they were talking about stuff they wanna do. But I guess now that we've actually experienced it, hopefully, I'm sure the engineer's office is on it now, it's probably topic number 1
I
this
hope so.
morning of, what do we do? This has gotta be the top priority for every agency in the county.
I saw alone 2 accidents last night, too, that I witnessed happen. So I do hope that we are taking this very seriously.
Right, we created just a mess, but there's no way to avoid it, of creating a mess. We were gonna have this diversion diamond, this is what has to happen, but there's just no way to slow traffic, and maybe we could have started in the spring or something, done something differently timing wise, but, I really worry because the next month is gonna be crucial. Bass Pro Shop's looking at November 15th opening, and from that day on, it's Christmas season. And a lot of these businesses rely on the Christmas business, to make their year. And if we basically put a wall up around our vendors, our retail, we're crippling not only that, we're crippling our sales tax. And people are gonna, they can go in Bass Pro Shop and shop if they want. But I want them to go there every week and buy and not sit at home on the laptop, as we all do. I mean, that's gonna benefit us. Steve, you have any input, not to put the engineers on?
I mean, it's a state project.
Yep.
I know we've worked with with ODOT on the project in collaboration, but it is their project.
Yes, absolutely.
So, yeah, and do the.
Any sort of signage or anything, any sort of detours, because right now everybody's taking that North Road, and honestly, North Road is so congested, you'll spend 45 minutes just on North Road, from Market to 422.
Just from the news reports, I do think 46 will be open on Thursday.
Oh, that's good.
Okay,
It's just
that's good,
a couple of days while they demolish the bridge.
that's good.
So
that
it should be
helps.
open Thursday.
But even at that point, I think it's gonna be maintained 1 lane, isn't it, for the whole duration of the project?
Not for 42, yeah, but they're not even doing anything with that diamond until, 20? I think they're just replacing the bridges on each. Right now,
Name for the record.
So one bridge is down, the, eastbound bridge will be open, as soon as the bridge that's up. No traffic will be on that bridge while they replace the bridge on the northbound, or the northbound bridge, westbound traffic on
Right.
the north side.
State, so just for the record.
Oh, your name again, sorry.
Stephen Burberry.
And
And John Hickey.
You wanna hand the microphone over to Beth?
name for the record.
Everybody knows that. That's where my goal, Trumbull County Tourism. There's a couple of different things. First, what I've learned too, ODOT only sends people to their own state route for detours. So that's confusing people when they're saying, oh, go to Elm Road as opposed to whatever. So that's number 1. Number 2, Google or Siri or Apple Maps is where everybody's going, and they don't do anything. I've talked to some industry contracts, they won't do anything unless ODOT or the county is closing those roads. So I think that what'll happen is, if there's a big backup and a visitor is coming in, they're not going to be, if the road is backed up as it was yesterday to the school from Youngstown Road, they're not gonna be diverting that traffic, it'll show that red line. that
Yeah,
you
it'll show
see
the
in
red line though, it'll at least show it's a high traffic area, but, you know, I mean, we're looking at a square, and there aren't very many other angles, it isn't like it's a star, or it's the sun rays coming in from, you're coming in parallel one way or another, and North Road 46, 422, there is no access from the north, so it's gonna suck.
And there isn't anything that we can change about the Google Map algorithms from the people that I've talked to, unfortunately. So, as you guys all know, like, Google Maps is like the shortest distance, not necessarily the shortest time.
Have you talked to Joe Bell with the mall?
I haven't in a few weeks,
Can
like
you,
2 or 3 weeks.
can you reach out to him and see what marketing stuff you can work with him on as far as tourism, promoting road traffic changes?
We can certainly do it, we are planning on doing it, but I think as you and I have talked, the bottom line is we can put a lot of money behind redirecting people, but they're not, it's all about that cell phone or their GPS system. So we'll look into it, and I'll talk to Joe about it and see what they're working on as well. And I've got a call with Bass Pro Shop, their marketing.
Okay.
See what we can do.
Alexandra?
I know that this is a really silly question, but I'm just gonna ask it. Have we gotten with the townships and whatnot about changing the light pattern? So I know specifically in Howland, when we're talking about, you know, East Market and whatnot, I mean, the light is for 2 seconds and then it's gone. So that's part of the reason everything's backing up. So I'm just asking if ODOT hasn't, or if we can have that conversation with townships.
We had that
and
conversation
change
last
the
week,
lighting
and
pattern.
there's a whole science behind how long a traffic light stays on,
Okay,
that ODOT controls and manages, and they have people that actually research it, look at the traffic, are on site to watch traffic patterns.
okay,
So I know ODOT's on that,
Okay.
and I know they've been working with the engineer's office according to our conference call we had.
wonderful.
But again, I think you can speculate, but until you actually see it in action, you know, play looks good on paper,
Right,
you know, but if the quarterback gets sacked every time, you gotta come up with another play. And I think now we're at that point with this, that they've got some data from this weekend, they've got the complaints in, now they know what do we need to do to
Okay.
readjust to make it flow.
very
I don't know if there is an answer, and I know if I'm one of those residents that live on one of those side streets, I'm not happy with my trustees, I'm not happy with my commissioners, I'm not happy with the governor of Ohio. I mean, I'm upset right now if I can't get in and out of my driveway, or get my kids to school in, you know, 5 minutes like I'm used to in the morning, and or get them home in time. So it's, I apologize, but this is something for the good of progress. We all have to deal with this, we're all in the same boat with this, and we'll do everything we can. If there is a solution out there, the Board of Commissioners is all ears, and the engineer is all ears, and ODOT is, or we can at least pass the message on to where it needs to go if someone has a better solution. Okay. Move on to the next item, 20 on your agenda, to approve personnel action for employment of Ms. Courtney Hatt for the full-time position of Human Resources Coordinator with Trumbull County Human Resources Department, effective Monday, October 30th. Ms. Hatt will be paid $44,591, pay range 8, at a rate of $21.43 an hour based on her experience and qualifications, and will serve a 120-day probationary period. Alexandra?
Yes, Commissioners, Alexandra DiVincenzi-Bush, Human Resources Director. So our last candidate, obviously dropped out at the last minute for the position, and what we did was, instead of reposting, we went back and reevaluated all of the candidates, just to make sure that there wasn't somebody that we missed. And I am so glad that we did, because somebody also reached out in that meantime saying, I didn't, you know, get an initial interview, can I send you more information, which they did. And I am very glad that she did that, because it turns out that she has a master's in human resources. She is currently the champion fiscal officer, but as we all know, the terms are up. Effective, you know, November would be the re-election, and she's not running for office. She has previous years of being in HR, mainly in an assistant capacity, which is what I need, for the department. And she comes with great references from, Champion Township trustees, as well as other people that I've just talked to in the community who have worked with her. So we're really excited to have her, and everybody's approved.
Alex, this is also part of the restructuring of the department.
It is.
It's ultimately gonna save money. I know you look at a new hire and you think, well, that's not saving money, but we're actually down an employee and we were at 4, now we're at 3.
Yep.
So we're still, certainly under budget in that department and committed to restructuring, and
Yep.
this is a part of it.
Yeah, so to what Commissioner Keeling said, we've always operated with 4 in the Human Resources Department. Since I've come on board, we've only had 2. We still have 2 to this day, myself and Becky. And this will be our 3rd and last part of our triangle, and I think that I've restructured it so much so that we will be a trifecta, and that's how it's gonna be going forward. Isn't that fancy?
Yeah. That's why we hired you.
Complete the triangle, yeah, you know what I mean?
No, this is great, and I did hear from the
Yeah.
champion trustee myself, who was really bummed to hear that we
I
got her.
know, I
He was
know.
excited for her, but he was bummed he was losing her. So that's a good testament there that they don't wanna lose her, so. Their loss is our gain. We owe champion one. Okay, 21, authorized on behalf of Trumbull County Department of Job and Family Services, the contracts per list dated October 18, 2023. Contracts create 24 training opportunities and 9 job opportunities at a total cost of $224,857, funded through Workforce Innovations and Opportunity Act. No county general funds requested, per John Gargano. Mr. Gargano.
Yes, John Gargano, Director of JFS. Commissioners, these are standard contracts that we do. We've brought these up to you before. These are for individuals that are seeking employment and giving them an opportunity and assistance financially to get there. As you've indicated, there's 24 training opportunities and 9 job opportunities that we're providing these individuals, and hopefully they'll be able to maintain these positions and be, have employment and be able to do the things they need to do.
Okay, thank you. 22, to approve the transfer of operational funds to the Child Support Enforcement Division Fund for CSEA 2023 budget year in the amount of $150,000 for interfund operations transaction funds. The funds will be transferred from Fund Number 001, 100, 1000, 1001, 507035 to Child Support Fund Number 006, 000, 1000, 1041, 413000. This action per recommendation of John Gargano.
Yes, again, John Gargano, Director of JFS. Commissioners, this is the amount of money that is budgeted each year by the commissioners, to provide to child support. And all we're doing right now is making that request for the transfer of funds from the auditor's office from one fund to the other, so it could be used for the agency.
Hey, John, while you're up here, have we made any better progress on getting the sheriff's department paid and getting that stuff rectified?
I've had communications, I've had meetings with, Auditor Yoder on that. We are getting closer. We've had to provide some other information to the, Auditor Yoder, I should say, and I've talked to the sheriff's department. I think it's just a matter of some, documentation actually between, JFS, CSEA, and the commissioner's office for that, I'll say, approval of payment, for lack of a better term. It's a matter of how we're going to, I say, form that document and see where we go from there. Okay?
Thank you very much.
Yep.
All right, that concludes the general business. We're gonna hold off on ARPA till the end, 'cause I know we've got some ARPA issues and things to deal with here. Anybody else have anything for the greater good that's here? I see we have a lot of guests here today. I wanna make sure we get to you all. Mr. Hickey, you wanna go first?
Thank you. John Hickey, Trumbull County EMA. Kind of ARPA, but not. I'm kind of looking for guidance. I have the, spec package ready, to go out to bid, but being newer to the county, not sure what the whole process will be to get it on the agenda, to get it advertised. So, I don't know if anybody here could kind of guide me a little bit with that.
Take this. Mr. Massaro?
Yes, are you saying the specs for the mobile unit? Is
Yes,
that it?
for the local command
Okay,
post.
I would say send a copy to the prosecutor's
I
office,
already did.
and then,
I'm past that.
Okay.
I got that back, but, format, I can spec out a fire truck, but I'm not sure what they need,
Okay,
you know.
well, let's see what you have.
Okay,
I can get a copy from, yes.
all right, thanks.
All right.
Thanks, Jim. That's Jim Masaki, helping them out there. Julie Green.
So, Julie Green, that's for you, Commissioner. I received a correspondence last evening from Ashley Carlin requesting that the commissioners pass the resolution that's in your packet, in support of an initiative they're doing at the state level. I understand that PUCO is behind in approving some of the, poles that they're trying to get erected for broadband service. And so I thought I'd bring it to you today for your consideration, if the commissioners are willing to put it on tomorrow or even next week. I don't believe it needs to be completed tomorrow, but for your review, and I have an extra copy if you want to make a copy for the third commissioner. That's it.
Like, what's this in a nutshell, Julie?
We're just looking for support to, move the process along faster. You know, bureaucracy at the state level, local level, sometimes requires some support letters to get things moving more quickly.
Nudging,
All right, this says,
nudging,
Yeah, nudging.
nudging.
this, I see a lot of this stuff on here, AEP Ohio. Do we have AEP presence in the county at all, or how does that affect us? This is
So,
all AEP related.
Yeah, Ashley Carlin came to us initially, and Nick has been working primarily on the broadband part of things. But we did assist them, provided letters of support when they applied for the funding a couple of years ago for residential broadband grant funding for the state. And so, that's what they've been trying to do, is to expand the broadband to underserved areas that are primarily the northern part of Trumbull County. And so, through that process, they've been having issues at the state level, getting things through the process in a timely manner. And they feel that if the Trumbull County commissioners and other commissioners throughout the state, all submit resolutions, it might make things move faster.
So are they gonna submit something to us, or
Yeah,
have you
there's
submit something to us?
There's a template resolution on the last 2 pages that you can review, change however you'd like, but basically, if you accept the current way it's written, you can pass that at tomorrow's meeting, or wait until next meeting after you've had time to read it and review it.
Yeah,
I
I personally like to wait till next meeting, just because looking at it initially,
Yeah,
I see AEP all through here on 2 pages. And I don't know that that directly affects us. We need to maybe look in a little more to see if we can include our pole providers maybe, or something, or something.
Yeah, we can talk to Ashley.
If we can do that, that would be great.
Yeah, we can talk to her and find out, you know, what additional entities may be affected.
Unless, I mean, this whole resolution, right here, it says it's urging us to address and resolve Charter's pole attachment complaint against AEP by issuing an order that requires AEP to take the following actions. So, if that's holding things up down south to make it come north, I can see our involvement with it, but we don't, if us not having AEP
Yeah.
here,
Yeah, I can ask her.
we're kinda getting in a fight that's not ours.
Yeah, I can ask her to explain how our support would be beneficial.
Okay, that would,
I don't have all the details. I just promised to share it with you for your review and consideration, but I can get more information for
that
you.
sounds great.
Yep.
Let's do that. Okay. Yes, sir.
Yes, Matt Martin, I'm Director of Trumbull Neighborhood Partnership, and we also manage the Trumbull County Land Bank. Oh, thank you. I'm here today to talk about demolition. So, the portal for round 2 of the Ohio Department of Development, Ohio Building Demolition and Site Revitalization Program opens October 31st. So just to put this in context a little bit, we submitted successfully, and were successfully awarded in round 1, $7 million for demolition and brownfield remediation. So we were able to get down about 170 residential demolitions and, commercial demolitions, including the former Wayne building on North Park.
that was owned by the county. We went into round one with a match of $2.75 million, or up to $2.75 million from the county. The demolitions that we did were almost exclusively in the city of Warren in round one. We only needed match for the Ween building. As we go into round two, we now have a pipeline of 195 residential demolitions, 26 commercial demolitions, in addition to, phase one, phase two, and cleanup projects on the brownfield side. So what we need to be able to do to apply for round two is carry a match into round two. Those 195 residentials and 26 commercial demos, those are countywide. And I sent you all a list of the current tabulation of what's projected to come down. So, like I said, that opens 10/31, and so what we did is, I guess, reapply for ARPA funds as a match. We submitted that last week, so hopefully you'll have a copy of that.
I just passed that out to them.
Yes, seeing it right now.
So that would reflect a $2 million match going into round two. That's gonna allow us to do upwards of $8 million worth of activity around demolition.
So Martha Yoder, Trumbull County Auditor, on the Ween building, we had a commitment under allocation of $2 million. And of course, this particular, ARPA request has been, the Ween building one, has been handled a little bit differently in that we had, an agreement we haven't paid any of it, is what I'm saying. We didn't do a resolution to pay. You guys have been paying and keeping track of what our costs would be out of that $2 million. And I think the last time that I heard, we were at $225 or $250?
It's gonna be about that. We don't have a final number yet,
Right.
but about $250 for.
So there will be about, $1,750,000 left of what we committed on our I'm speaking for the commissioners so they, understand what's on the allocated sheet. We had $2 million allocated, so we'll have $1.75 million left, basically, out of that. But you're requesting, because we talked about how they would need to do a second request, they're requesting two, so that would add another $250,000.
Out of the $4 million or so we got remaining.
Right. Correct.
That'll be leveraged at a 3-to-1 match, so we're
Right.
basically getting all that activity.
And
75%.
I got the application, but I did not get the list, and I'm thinking that would be very helpful when we're turning that over to legal, the other documentation besides this application. If they should decide to move it forward to legal, that would be helpful.
Certainly, I can send that today.
And a lot of these are outside the city now?
Yeah, so the city of Warren pays for its own demolitions. When we go into round two, whatever properties they have, they're gonna provide the match for that. So everything that we do with the county match will be outside the city of Warren.
Okay.
Is there an option for the commissioners to just commit the, money that's left from that $2 million instead of the full $2 million?
We'd like to submit as strong an application as possible, so
I understand.
I'll leave that there.
Former township trustee, the more money you put on the table, the more you get back, I get it. The
So
more
I would
likely
say
you are.
The most important thing is that we can submit at all.
Right,
So
I
we'll start
understand.
there, but, I mean, a strong application is gonna be a $2 million match. That'll allow us to go for 8 total.
What was the deadline too?
Well, the portal opens, October 31st, and it's first come, first served without the actual allocation going out, so we'd like to get it in, as early as possible in the cycle. However, it needs to be accurate and comprehensive, so.
Sure.
We would like to get it submitted by November 15th.
Martha Yoder, Trumbull County Auditor, just, Mr. Masaki and I spoke with, Julie Green last week a little bit about this. And if you do want to move forward, we can put that as a high priority for Attorney Rogers to do the legal approval so that can get, meet those deadlines that, Mr. Martin needs to meet.
We did go, trade language with her, for round one, so we could certainly, that's helpful.
Or any questions? Nothing right now, no.
All right, thanks.
All right, thank you.
Good morning, Commissioners. Ed Stark, I'm the Superintendent for the Trumbull County Board of Developmental Disabilities. I'm here today because I want to set the record straight, regarding a comment that was made at the last Commissioners meeting regarding our tax levies. So, the Trumbull County Board of DD does have a tax levy that will be expiring next year. We will be on the ballot in November of 2024, provided the Commissioners give us permission to do that. But the comment was made that we are going to have to increase our levy, our taxes, to pay for transportation services, and that is absolutely not the case. When we come before the Commissioners next year for approval to be on the ballot, it will be for a renewal, which means no new taxes. So I just wanted to set the record straight. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Appreciate that, and that is, one of our most worthwhile, causes in our, that levy, passes resoundingly, and as it should, so, we appreciate the work you do with, that community, and we look forward to putting it back on, with no new increase.
Great.
To piggyback on that, I'm sorry, talking about transportation, just so everyone's aware, there was a transportation meeting, with, Michael Salamone and I'm not sure if Michael Salamone's on the phone or not, our transit administrator, Michael Salamone.
Mike, if you're on the phone, it's star six.
He said he was gonna call in.
Oh, did he?
You need me, can everyone hear me without the microphone?
I gotta
So,
unmute the mic.
sorry?
I gotta unmute the phone line.
Okay. I don't know if he's on or not, but,
Yes, I'm on, Commissioner.
Okay, Mike. I just wanna preface everything with our meeting that we had with ODOT, with, Spencer Smith, the urban transit planner from ODOT, and with Chuck Dyer, who's, project manager for transportation in ODOT, and Dean Harris, from obviously WRTA, myself and Michael Salamone. We went into the meeting, with, laying out a clear vision of what we think, transportation should be in Trumbull County. Obviously, there's some financial concerns, and we're wondering to see, what can we do, shy of joining WRTA, obviously, because that's been talked about ad nauseum, but, what can we do that's more financially beneficial, but remains effective and committed to public transportation? And, I laid out at least my theory with, Mr. Dyer, during the meeting, and let me just say that, putting a levy on right now, or putting a sales tax on, for the people to vote on right now, to increase goods and services is not economically feasible for people right now, especially when they're paying more for everything under the sun. We all know that. Secondly, I don't agree with putting it on until, and I told Mr. Dyer this, until two changes were made at the state level. I don't believe that Trumbull County shouldn't control its own destiny when it comes to these levies. If it's gonna be voted on in Trumbull County, why can Mahoning County decide if it passes or not? Because, for those of you that don't know, it would be voted on by Mahoning County and Trumbull County. If the majority of Mahoning County votes for it, and Trumbull County does not, it would still pass. I don't like the idea of our voters and our constituents not controlling their own destiny. Secondly, I don't like the idea that having to join WRTA, you have to have 0.25%. That's because the other, member of the transit authority, which would be Mahoning County, puts in 0.25%, then we have to put in 0.25% to join. I believe that should be in tenths of percent, that should be custom made to each county. I let Mr. Dyer know about that. I said, we don't need a $7 million system. We need a $2 to $3 million system, in my opinion. But we did a lot of back and forth on that, and I thought I made Trumbull County's case that, look, we're committed to public transportation, but we're not committed to it to have all these fixed routes that we don't necessarily need. What can you do for us? And, there was a lot of, back and forth with that, and, there was, well, why don't you join WRTA and that sort of thing, and, we ended the meeting sort of abruptly, but we let them know exactly what we thought of in Trumbull County. Now, first of all, we wanted some fixed routes, and we wanted some help with those fixed routes from the state. Secondly, because we do understand that we do need those, and we do need some degree of public transportation. But it shouldn't be all on the Trumbull County voters, and it shouldn't be all on Trumbull County. We shouldn't go at it alone. The state should be able to assist us. And also, a long-term goal of when we gave up our designation for $5307, we gave up a lot of federal dollars and that was in the midst of the transit board and everything that happened with the triennial review, and that designation was relinquished, unfortunately. But if we're serious about having a more local, Trumbull County-centered, transportation system, we need to have that designation of 5307 back again. So we talked about that and how we can reobtain that through the state, because that allows us to access a lot of federal dollars. So it was left sort of abruptly, but, Mike, you had a phone call or an email from, either Mr. Dyer or Mr. Smith, I don't know who it was, but, you know, the state has what they call, you know, these flex fund awards. What they dole out with their, not to get into the alphabet soup or anything, but the OTPP, money for transportation. And correct me if I'm wrong here, Mike, but there's these flex funds awards that are basically adjustments to the awards that they've given out, or money that's brought back into the state that hasn't been used. A long story short, there is $300,000 that they can allocate towards transportation in Trumbull County. That's the good news. It would be a 50-50 match, though. And Trumbull County would have to come up with the other $300,000, which I don't think is unreasonable, especially when you talk about, you know, the fixed routes that we had, each one costing approximately $150,000. That was through the grant of the state. That could bring us back to where we were, you know, when the state grant was effective. So that's where we are in the immediate term. Now, do I think that Trumbull County should go at that on their own? You know, there is $300,000 available, and that could provide a lot of fixed route rides and paratransit rides along those fixed routes. But I think we need a commitment from the city of Warren or the city of Niles or other participating communities to go after that money. Now, what does that dollar amount look like? I'm not sure yet, but I think if we work together, we've shown that spirit of collaboration on different projects. If we work together, we can have maybe 4 or 5, maybe 4 very viable fixed routes throughout Trumbull County, and in addition to our most popular route and the most traveled route, which is Warren Express, which isn't going anywhere. So I think it was a very productive, very beneficial, and very fruitful meeting. And this idea that there isn't funding out there is a lie, that we have to go to the voters and put on a sales tax, not true. We need to tailor-make our system and stay within our means. I don't like overpaying for things. It's a sickness I have. I don't know what it is, but I was born with it. I can't stomach the fact that we would overpay for transportation when that's not what's needed in Trumbull County right now. So, Mike, do you have anything to add on that? I mean, as far as the 5307 designation, or how we access that $300,000 in grants and those flex funds? I mean, it was a very productive meeting, a very fruitful meeting. I'm glad we had it, Mike, if you want to shed some light on it as well.
Commissioners, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me give you a little bit more of what happened with the meeting. I had multiple questions for this meeting. One of the questions was, can Trumbull County receive any money from the state without being a 5307 designee? The flat answer was no. There's no way, there's no money out there from the state that we can receive for transportation without being a 5307 designee. So like Commissioner Cantalasa said, one of the things we need to look at is possibly becoming a 5307 designee again. In the past, we received about somewhere between $500,000 to $600,000 in 5307 money. So that's one of the things we're going to want to look at. Number two, if the commissioners want to, they could actually establish an RTA, which would be the board. They would actually run transportation instead of the commissioners. It's just a possibility that's out there. We can do that. Like Commissioner Cantalasa said, I did receive an email on Thursday from, his name is,
Spencer Smith.
Yeah. And basically in the email, it states with flex funds, they have $296,357 to give to WRTA if we are willing to come up with a 50% match, which would be another $296,000. So in saying that, we're talking roughly a $600,000 system. I've already set up a meeting.
Mike, just to be clear,
Yeah.
600,000, just, in addition to the system we are running already, that's just for fixed routes.
Correct. Right, this is
So
the
everybody's
run
aware.
RTA, correct. Yeah, that's addition to what we're doing right now with on demand. So I've already set up a meeting with Dean Harris and his staff to see, what kind of routes he can put together for this dollar amount. Now, Dean Harris is on board with this. So that's not gonna be a problem. So if we're willing to come up with the funding, however we do it, we can move forward with this. Now, the other thing is, this would not start till April 1st of 2024 for multiple reasons. One of the big reasons is Congress has not passed the budget yet. Until Congress passes the budget, the FTA is not releasing any money at all. So that's number one. Number two, there's a couple other reasons.
But we're hopeful spring of 2024, early spring of 2024.
Right, spring of 2024, and go to spring of 2024. We would have 1 year plus to figure out how we want to fund this. Okay. So that's really where we're at. So the one question I would like to ask, because I am not in the office right now, if commissioners are willing to do a public meeting next week sometime after Tuesday, because like I said, Tuesday I'm meeting with Dean, for transportation to go over this.
I'm not opposed to it. I think we're tackling it here today, and I think what it comes down to, I think the sticking point with some commissioners might be, you know, that participation from participating communities, that monetary participation, and figuring out how many rides, and can we get for that dollar amount, and then, you know, we want to obviously have a say in those rides as well, in conjunction with WRTA and you. I mean, you guys know the most traffic rides. We had 5 routes, with the grant, but 2 of those routes were not very well traveled. So we want to focus on, you know, obviously the Elm Road route was very well traveled. It was the most, traveled route that we had through the grant. Potentially one through Lordstown. You know, we want to be able to map that out, see what it looks like, and talk, you know, with Dean about price, you know, how often do we run the route? Maybe we could get more routes for if we don't run them as often. You know, those are things that he knows the answer to as well. He knows what works and what doesn't, because they ran it here for, you know, a little over 2 years, so, that's gonna be very beneficial. Yeah, I would welcome that meeting. I would also welcome a meeting if the city of Warren or the city of Niles would like to participate and show their support for transportation as well. I know that a lot of their, a lot of the citizens in their cities, you know, probably to the tune of 90% of the riders come from Warren and Niles. So it would be beneficial if they were there. We can extend that invite as well, and we can reach out to them for monetary support as well.
Yeah, so like I said, I have an initial meeting with Dean Harris and his staff to get initial, route costs, so we can have that after Tuesday probably.
Okay, very good. And Commissioner Malloy has a question as well, sir.
Just a couple thoughts on this thing. First of all, Mauro, that is awesome. I mean, what you did in 1 day, I mean, with all these meetings we had, it can't happen, it's gonna happen. Everything you said is the truth, up to what was said on the podium in the last couple meetings, when you talked about there's other routes, we don't need to don't join WRTA, we don't need $7 million. You backed it up with this meeting, you're backing up with facts now, so I commend you on that, on putting the work in, doing this. Everything on here is good stuff. One, I think we need that 5307 designation.
Oh,
We shouldn't be at the behest of anyone else.
No.
Or Dean Harris holding a checkbook for us in Trumbull County. We should have it ourselves. Why we don't have it before, I mean, why don't we have it before, I guess, answer that if that was before me.
I guess, and not to cut you off, but I guess I agree wholeheartedly, number one, and I necessarily wouldn't agree if it weren't for those stipulations, and if those things are changed at the state level, as far as, you know, Trumbull County controlling its own destiny when it comes to a vote, and being able to tailor-make the amount of money we want for an RTA system to join WRTA. Just because Mahoning County spends 0.25% doesn't mean 0.25% is what's needed in Trumbull County. Until those two things change, I agree, we need to go after the 5307.
And we have a transportation director. We're paying Mike a lot of money as a department there, that he should be in control of the funds of that stuff and crafting our own transportation here in the county. Right now, we're waiting on another guy, another entity. We should never have that in the first place. Why we lost it before, I don't know, but we need that back. Secondly, yeah, if it is a match, yeah, Warren's gotta have their butt in a seat at the table with us. Niles, at a lesser extent, I think, but this is Warren-based. I mean, the complaints we're hearing, everything we're hearing is out of Warren. We don't have anybody here from Niles coming to us and complaining, maybe one gentleman, but they can't catch that route, the Warren Express.
Yeah.
But they need to have skin in the game too with this. We're not gonna create a transportation system for them, and they're gonna piggyback us. They got money to give themselves raises in Warren right now. They got money to give themselves raises across the board and health coverage for all their people, something they've never had. They sure enough got money to give people rides to work. So, I don't wanna hear any excuse from Warren that they don't have the money to sit on this meeting. This is something, we're calling them out on this. We want systems, we're gonna roll our sleeves up, they're gonna roll their sleeves up, we're gonna make it happen that way. RTA board, I think we need to get to that point again also. And an April 1st start date, that's not bad, because we were told before, things couldn't start until July, if we came up with a solution. Now we've already moved it up to April. So, and in the bridge between now and April, we can find another solution also. I mean, if we're gonna put money up for this other stuff, if we need to find something with our providers we already have with senior levy services or other means to get people to work, if that's what it is, I mean,
We're committed to that.
yeah, we're committed to that, and that's nothing. That's chump change compared to what we're doing in the bigger picture with things. I absolutely think we need a public meeting next week, because we promised it.
Okay.
We've got a couple of people, we've got Sarah, we have Mr. Joseph, some other people that are actual users of the system, that we would be stupid not to get their input at this meeting, to see how it's gonna directly affect the user, and not us figuring out what's best for them, let them tell us what's best for them.
Sure.
So we need to have this meeting, and at the same time, like I said, we need to bring all bodies to the table with this thing, make it a serious meeting, and if we can on the stuff you have here, we have the better parts of a solution here for Trumbull County. We're not worrying about these outlying things, we're not worrying about a pipe dream down the road, or if we join this, or there's no sales tax involved in this. This is us finding a solution within what we already have.
Sure.
Without taxing anybody else outside of what we already have.
That's right.
So, again, Mike and Mauro, I can't say enough, I'm blown away at the success of that one meeting you had. Thanks for digging your heels in with that, and I look forward to this being a solution.
Well, we had to rough them up a little bit, right, Mike?
Yeah, a little bit.
No, I think once the plan was laid out, and I think once they saw our concerns were valid and legitimate, it wasn't just, hey, we don't wanna put on sales tax. No, there's other things at play here that lead up to that. I mean, these restrictions and these obligations that we need to fulfill don't necessarily tailor fit Trumbull County, and that's where we're at a crossroads. And they recognize that, obviously.
Right?
Yeah, no, they recognize that. You can see that in the letter. That was the
Yes.
main reason, because Commissioner Cantal Mesa said, one of the comments that we were talking about during the meeting was setting up a separate contract with WRTA, and Dean said, yeah, we can do that. So they knew at that point we were willing to put money into the game. And that was the big part of it right there.
We were always willing to do that, Mike. We were always willing to do that, but we can't go at it alone, and we can't go to the voters and say, hey, look, we need more money, when goods and services are at an all-time high. I mean, it's just not fair. We need to work together with the participating communities and the state and the federal dollars and come up with a solution, that's all. And I think we're on the right track.
And I think a lot of this, Mauro, was we were deceived in a lot of ways, because we were being force-fed WRTA by another commissioner, and we went right to the source and found out the stuff with the state and the source. That cut out all the BS now. Now all that other stuff is background music. We can deal direct with the source, and we don't have to have that sitting in our face. So I think WRTA and the system got a bad name because...
Well, it made it sound like it was the only option.
That's right.
And that just simply wasn't the case. We could contract with WRTA and meet our needs in that way, without handing over $7 million and saying, okay, you guys take over. That's not smart.
Yeah,
No,
no,
at least
exactly
not right now. At least not under those premises that I mentioned,
Right, we could actually contract with WRTA now and in the future and just set up what we want or need. So if somebody else wants to fix out in their area, then they would be the ones, we would work through us to set up a route, maybe in Holland or someplace. I don't know off the top of my head, I'm just talking here. But if somebody else wants,
You're right, Mike.
or if you wanted something up north someplace, we could work that out too. I'm just, yeah, the contract is actually, I think, a better route to go.
Yeah.
That's my opinion at this
I
point.
wanna publicly thank Chuck Dyer and Spencer Smith too. They're a wealth
Yeah.
of knowledge, and they really came through for us, and they understood, where Trumbull County was coming from. And despite, an individual saying that there's no money out there, they were able to see,
Right.
what Trumbull County's needs were and what we're going through, and they were able to work with us, and we appreciate that.
Yeah, so if you want to just let me know, when this public meeting is, when I get back in my office,
Well, Mike-
I'll take it.
Mike, you take
Yeah.
the reins and you set up that meeting, right? I mean, is that?
Well, no, we'll set it up tomorrow.
You wanna set it up
Let's
tomorrow?
you and I set it up tomorrow and
Okay.
see what works for the three of us. And Mike, you're in town next week, right?
Yeah, I'm back in the office on Monday, correct?
All right, so we'll tell Mike when to be there, and it'll be one day next week.
Yeah, because it can't be Tuesday. Because like I said,
Okay.
I'm meeting with Dean, so it'd be Wednesday or after,
All right.
okay? All right.
Okay, thank you again, Michael, thank you.
Thank you. All right, bye.
Tomorrow, you good with next Wednesday afternoon or Thursday?
Tentatively, yeah, I mean, I didn't look, but I can look right now. The first? I'm fine with that, as long as it's prior to, as long as we're out of here by 3:30
On Wednesday?
on Wednesday.
You wanna do,
I mean, even right after the,
1
right after
o'clock?
the meeting, 1 o'clock, yeah,
Yep.
shouldn't go
1 o'clock Wednesday?
1 o'clock Wednesday. That with, Amy?
Yep, and have Amy check though with, are we gonna do it ourselves? Are we gonna try to have Mr. Harris or anyone from the state here?
Oh, I think Mike should, contact all the necessary parties, if we can reach out to Mike.
Yeah.
He can, make sure the Dean's here, or WRTA's here. I don't know if the state will be here, but they have the commitment letter that I can share with everybody.
What about the couple residents that you
Yeah.
have me get?
Yeah, and I don't know how we get out, I don't have their contact.
I got contacts for both of them.
I have it.
Those two in particular are the ones
Sure.
I'm mostly
They've
concerned
been
with.
very active, and, yeah.
They have been.
And, obviously, the representative from the city of Warren, maybe the city of Niles, reach out to them.
Yeah.
If they'd like to be a part of it. This could be a good collaborative project for all of us to go at.
Okay. Next up. That's awesome. That's really good stuff.
Yep.
I'm going to be adding a road closure, an emergency bridge closure tomorrow.
Okay?
Oakfield North Road in Bristol Township.
Okay. Do that. Bill Hart, you got something?
Yes, Bill Hart, Trumbull County Maintenance. I did receive my last teacher's grading assignment, so I'm going to get the stone building project and the highway engineer project to move forward with Bill Hart, Trumbull County Maintenance. I have my last teacher grade, the last, RFQ and the design build for the roof for the highway. So as soon as I get those in the system, Mrs. Winsky will get moving on getting those out and getting the numbers to those two projects.
Okay. Appreciate that. Anybody else? All right, let's get into ARPA. All right, first thing I wanna address with ARPA is we got some feedback from the attorney. And, let's go right to,
Do you want me to just, I can, yeah. Do you want me to just start, 'cause it's.
well, yeah, what I wanna start with, Martha, because we've got a gentleman here to discuss that, is we got an email from her last week about some potential rejections on
Right.
what we did, and we need to discuss that first.
All right, that's what I have on here.
Yes.
All right, so Mr. Masaki received 6 denials on 6 requests. And the following were from the yes list, And what I did so far on this, and of course this may change, is I zeroed them out on the spreadsheet, so they're not counted towards the total, but left them listed for now. So the three that were on the yes list were Bristol Township, $160,000 for structure to house vehicles, Mesopotamia Township, $170,000 for township hall remodel, and Bezetta Township, $300,000 for repaving, McCleary Jacoby Road. And then we also had a list, that were, that the board had said maybe, but they wanted a legal opinion on, and three of those, requests were also denied. Farmington Township, $100,000 for repaving Ensign Road, Vienna Township, Fire Department, $350,000 for the pumper truck, and Vernon Township, $406,069 restoration for Bushnell Campbell. And I zeroed those out on the spreadsheet, but left them on the list for now.
Okay, we need to find out why these were denied, especially Bristol,
You have that one.
Bezetta, and Vernon. Those were some of the big asks that they had. And we don't want those townships to go left without their request, or a request. So we need to make some adjustments here, figure out if there's any other way we can resubmit, or if there's any other project we could supplement, so that these aren't three townships that are left behind. Mesbo got some stuff already,
Bristol did as well. Well, Bristol has another one on the legal opinion list, the yes
Right.
list for legal opinion. It's a small one, Martha Yoder, Trumbull County Auditor. It's a small one for $16,100. It's a small one, but
that's
it is
minimal,
there.
but
Right.
let's talk first about, since he's here, Mr. Hovis is here, Bezetta Township trustee. This is really important. He had an application that was kind of rock star filled out, the way he touched on everything, even in his application, and how it applied to COVID, with it being a road that the police department travels and the fire department travels, emergency services. And we need to look at this opinion from Tanya to figure out why this is denied. Is there a way, is it semantics? Is there another way to resubmit any of these, from a different angle? Or, you know, is there a challenge thing with these? Because,
Well, Commissioner, and I'd like to waive privilege if Mr. Hovis would like to look at the, legal.
sure, I have no problem with that.
It does say the following requests were submitted and were either previously denied or appeared questionable. I don't know, is that a definitive, or is that?
Well, it's further, there's further.
Is there further analysis?
Yeah.
Yeah, 'cause it was, like, Vernon Township was denied. The fire department appeared questionable when we had the meeting, and so we resubmitted Vernon Township under the new statute that went from the 4 qualifications to 7 or whatever it was. So we thought maybe the road thing would slide in there under that now, being that the road project was denied before in Vernon. And then we compared the road one to Bezetta, and we thought, well, if Vernon's flies, then Bezetta should fly. And I think that's where now we see that Farmington, Bezetta, and Vernon road projects, none of the three.
It's the road project.
Yep, it's because it's a road project,
Right.
But they were initially under the new rules.
Well, no,
we
she
thought
said.
that they would.
Well, no, she said it's a possibility. I'll let Mr. Masaki answer because he said.
Yeah, I mean,
with her.
obviously, she has cited here the federal statutes and gone through a series of probably 10 considerations. And she's saying, based on the express language of the USC, which is the United States Code, it does not appear that any of the township resurfacing projects are eligible. The township road projects contemplate general road surface improvements of local roads, and there is no indication that the township roads fall into any of the exceptions that are cited in that USC section. As such, the applications submitted by Farmington, Bezetta, and Vernon are not eligible expenditures.
We'll just ask this, Plank Hovis, Bezetta Township. So, because the application was submitted under the revenue loss, I thought automatically made us eligible to use those funds for government services, which the definition of government services is roads.
No, she's looking at it from this consideration.
But that would be county government
County
sovereign.
infrastructure, these are township infrastructures.
And
In other
that's
words, the
why,
revenue loss would apply to county infrastructure, not necessarily, is that what you're
Right.
saying?
Right,
and that's why there is still consideration being
Right.
given to the county engineer's projects that he submitted.
right. There could be road projects that
She needs
about
to
a-
look at
about a
it, but,
county
right,
engineer
she
that
needs
could
to look at it.
qualify.
But if it's revenue loss, it's not revenue loss for the individual townships, if I'm understanding it
Correct.
correctly. It's revenue loss for the county itself. So it's, for township roads, it's not, they're not gonna fall into that. County may under revenue loss. Am I saying that correctly?
Correct.
All right.
All right, so my question is then, what do we do for Bezetta Township, and how do we come up with either to see if there is any other further information he can give to Tanya to possibly sway her opinion, or to make a program such as this fit, or to replace that request with something else. Same thing with Vernon, who neither of them have had any requests, technically, that they came from their trustees or their citizens.
Martha Yoder, Trumbull County Auditor, I think, that if I understand it, it's been pretty definitive from, Attorney Rogers at this point that we're not gonna get any of these township roads in. I think the way that she was trying to maybe shoehorn them had to do with, economics, and, Julie would know more about this, but, you know, the, community block development grant requirements, those kinds of things. So a lot of times the townships, the income guidelines, low income, most of our townships do not have those I mean, not all of them, but most of them don't have those kind of, issues and ability. And I know when we talked specifically with Farmington, that was, I said I knew that wasn't gonna be a case there because of who lives there, I know that. My suggestion would be, if they have, and I privately did this with Farmington, I said, because I knew, you know, before the deadline, I knew that roads were a questionable thing, and that was the only one they had. So I encouraged them to look for something else, you know, that they had a need for within their township. And of course, if you do something else as a township, that frees up money for you to do things, you know, for you to have towards that. That's what I would say, is maybe give them some time
Maybe
and
reach out to these communities and
resubmit, yeah, so that,
You have another
right,
project that
you know,
can
Farmington
submit,
already does
and
have
allow them to
one
submit.
that's
Right.
submitted. Bristol has a small one, but maybe could have more. Farmington's is also fairly small, it's like 44,000, it's not a lot. But, you know, Bezetta, Vernon, I think Vienna had some other requests, but I'm not sure. And that's a little different, situation, it's not the roads. But I would, you know, if you want me to reach out, to all those who were turned down, I can do that and say, you know, if you've got something else, send it to me, and you guys can consider those.
Mike, is there,
Find some reason, but I mean, this is number one.
that, I understand that, and that's why I'm wondering, is there a way? Because, I mean, Tanya, yeah, she knows what she's doing with this.
I think she's been pretty definitive.
But there
now.
are there's ARPA's all over the country, and if there is not a loophole, but another opinion or something like that we can justify, would it be
What
out of
about
line?
running through the cog?
Well,
If you were saying that,
that original, one that I have from,
the commissioners would give it to the cog.
it was given to the COG, and it specifically spells it out, in January of 2022. This
Well,
spells it out
well,
as revenue loss and roads.
Tanya Rogers is also legal counsel for the COG, so.
Maybe that's something we can.
Right,
Maybe
but
we could-
those dates that he's just referring
Oh, the
back to
timeframe,
are before we even had the federal
ARPA money
guidance,
available.
and we had we didn't have guidance even in place, I don't think, at that point.
For memorandum from, Baker,
Yeah.
yeah, it says, the final rule issued by the Treasury Department relating to the American Rescue Plan Act. The highlight of her,
Well,
Which she gave us a call.
she would be your client from that end, so you could be free to call her and inquire
Right,
as a client of hers as a member of the COG.
Mike, can you call her and do that, and just get a better explanation from her and see if maybe you talking to her, maybe
I'll get a,
fills in
give them a
some,
call and let the COG go through their channels. That is not right for me to spend their money.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're right.
Sure.
But if the members of the COG agree that this is a worthwhile project and money can be given to the COG, maybe that's the way that,
Yeah.
that seems kinda odd, but.
Well, yeah, that sometimes works.
It spelled out the revenue loss.
Right.
That's what we went with. Our fiscal officer has all the supporting documentation for it. And it falls under government services, which they define as roads.
And they've changed they've loosened the requirements time after time, and you would think that this would be an allowable expense, but why wouldn't be? There's a lot of other things that are allowable expenses.
It was, I didn't read the whole thing, but it looks, probably if it were in a low-income census tract, perhaps it would qualify.
Well, and that's where the loosening has happened,
Yeah.
is that we're talking about, low income, those things, and our townships just don't fall into that, most of them. Not all, but most of them.
Seems like too, what she's saying, roads fall into, so, being the fact it's a local road, not connectivity to other interstates and things like that.
Well, it does connect from one state road to another state road.
Well,
Which,
what do you mean?
as far as Eastgate goes, but it adds points to the project.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Where do you want the board to go with this? I mean, we can pose a question if you'd like, or.
Yeah, I don't know, I don't understand how, if it's a lot of revenue.
I'd like somehow for Mike to be able to talk to Tanya without it being out of line, or something where he has a conversation, even acting on behalf of a thing.
I'm fine with that.
If you guys are gonna have her come down here, I'll be more than glad. I'd rather talk to her face to face. Because it's gonna be I think it's
That's up to the discretion of the board if you wanna have
Or even a
her
phone call.
back to
Even a-
discuss.
I mean, maybe not have her back, but even
Well,
a Zoom call or.
some type of a public meeting.
yeah, 'cause there's other communities that are
Yeah.
affected by
Yeah, there's 3 communities affected, yeah.
And I'm fine with that, having a public meeting with her over by Zoom, or if she wants to come here with these communities affected.
So do you want Mr. Masaki to arrange that?
I'm okay with that. I don't want it to be a waste of time.
What was the reasoning on the township hall remodel?
Well, that's, these are all highly technical distinctions, but, basically it's saying here that equipment is expressly excluded, therefore the request for Vienna Township for a pumper truck is not eligible. Additionally, aside from the fact that both Bristol and Mespo do not appear to meet the metropolitan requirements, the rule expressly excludes construction of general government administrative buildings, therefore the renovations to the town hall or construction of the garage are similarly not, eligible expenditures.
So they could buy radios for the township, but they can't buy a fire truck.
Right.
Didn't we buy cot elevators too, or,
Yeah, we did.
isn't that the,
Power call.
thank you, power cot, for Johnson? Johnson? I thought
Well,
so.
she's saying though, this is buildings or portions thereof used for general government administration.
Well, the pumper truck,
Is
though.
not, though.
Well, it says, general government expenses, political activities, purchase of equipment.
Equipment.
Okay.
Use the ARP money for purchase.
I believe you, Jim, I just.
A lot of
Yeah, I'm
different
just saying this
Yeah.
is what she cited.
Yeah, you're not saying it,
Nope, not your fault. Don't shoot the messenger.
No, that's what,
Yeah.
that's what she's
That's, there's gotta be some, we need to talk to her, not an appeal, but a
Well, there could be
clarification
some,
type of
there could
thing.
be some nuances that, you can get around a different category possibly.
Maybe,
Well, I say more of the, at least for these communities, that we still freeze the amount they requested in the
Yeah, oh, yeah.
budget.
yeah.
That if this
Right.
doesn't work, then they can supplement with something else that does work.
Okay.
Because I get a feeling, now, from what we said, these are just the ones she reviewed recently.
Right.
Yeah.
Johnson,
Yeah.
one of the requests we did was
Yeah.
a building for them to store their equipment and put their building supplies and stuff, that's gonna come up, maybe that'll have the same issue. There's gonna be some other ones that, that we put through on those 40-some yeses,
Mhm.
that may be in the same boat, so
We're probably gonna be.
let's maybe get through another round of her approvals,
All right,
and then have a meeting possibly with the people that were denied with her,
sure,
where we can do a public meeting. Maybe doing a public meeting at this time might be a little premature, because there are probably 35 more she needs to rule on.
right, well, there's a
Instead
lot,
of doing 3 or 4 public meetings with every ruling,
right,
it might be better to, not to make the township wait, but,
right.
Well, and-
let some of those build up before we do
and
that.
amplifying your point is some of the requests may fall into the similar
Right,
category.
and then we can,
Correct.
right,
Then you'd have,
Abundant,
multiples.
right.
yeah.
right, and we can get clarification on all of those. So, Marcy Yoder, Trumbull County Auditor, so what I'll do, because what I had done on your yes list that you have with you, or that I've given to you, is I had zeroed them out. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make a notation on there, I will put those amounts back in, so the amounts I give you right today are gonna be off because of that. But I will go ahead and do that for next week, all of those yeses, all of those yes, the ones that are on the
Well,
yes.
the Vining Township Fire Department, we never approved that one, I think
No,
that was one we just
that
said,
was
let's get
a-
an opinion,
that's
that
a
shouldn't be
maybe.
in there.
Correct. I have that outlined on your notes here. So the 3 that we'll set aside would, that amount of money, so we'll freeze that amount on the spreadsheet, will be Bristol 160, Mespo 170, and Bezetta 300,
Yeah.
all right?
And then the Vernon, 'cause Vernon got nothing from
Vernon,
us yet.
okay, but Vernon was not on the yes sheet. Vernon was on the maybe sheet.
No, Vernon was already put
Maybe-
through and denied,
No,
and then put back in,
But,
yes.
but Vernon was, no, it was put on, I've given you the sheet like 6 times.
Okay.
I've never had it on the yes sheet. I've always had it on the maybe. I can go back to the
We
meeting.
can put it on the yes sheet now.
I
Yeah.
can do that if, with both of your opinions, that's fine.
Yeah, put Vernon on the yes,
I'm
'cause Vernon's
fine
gotta
to
get
do that.
something out of it.
So what I'll do is I'll put
Skip it.
Vernon on a yes and I'll freeze the amount. But yeah, at the big meeting, you guys we had a list of ones to revisit and the maybes, and those were, I've given you guys that list as well, separate from the other maybes, right?
Okay.
But I will put it on there, that's fine.
Okay, perfect, thank you.
Okay, so, moving on, if that's okay?
Yes,
Attorney Rogers requested the application for the county highway request for the 536-873 for paving, which was sent, and she, to her by Mr. Masaki. She also has all the gold highlighted requests on the yes sheet and the red highlighted requests now to review, because we don't wanna give her overloaders, so we're giving her the ones that were in the front of the list, okay, on the front of the line. We received correspondence from the attorney for Howland Historical Society asking about increasing the request because they believed that the requests were limited to $20,000 when they made the initial application. How would you like me to respond to that?
I don't know where they would've got that 20,000, that seemed to be the going rate with historical. And for them to reopen and say, oh, since you gave it to us, give us more, I don't believe in that right now.
Okay.
Well,
Okay.
that was Howland's only request, I believe.
Howland,
Was there another?
it wasn't a township request, it was a historical society.
Right, but that's,
But that's the only one that came out of Howland.
I think so.
I believe so.
Up to you guys.
I would rather
Leave it.
get a different request from Howland Township trustees themselves
All
or
right.
something, rather than just add on the historical.
Do you want me to reach out to Howland Township trustees? Like I did the other ones?
I would say yes.
All right.
Okay.
Right.
I didn't realize that was the only thing from Howland, so that's, again, in fairness to all townships,
Right,
you
got it.
know, we did,
Right, I think, I would have to look at it, but I think that you're correct, that it is the only one.
we
Maybe
just set that
Howland
like $200,000
doesn't have
to
anything for
$300,000 bar,
20,000.
so.
If Howland doesn't have anything for 20,000, then maybe I'm fine with reallocating it back to the,
Well, it would be, it's
Additional.
additional,
Oh,
it's
okay.
over 20. They actually,
oh, I
in
thought it
the
was-
letter said, Howland Historical Society, they're on the yes list.
Yeah.
And they're on the yes list for 19,000 is what they applied for, to do some work on the Yellow House and to, they had a whole list. And they have more things that they wanted, but they thought we were limiting it to either less than 20,000 or 20,000.
Oh, I see.
And so that's why they only asked for that. So then they realized that we weren't, and they wanna ask for more. But I'm gathering from you two that the thing to do is ask, and if I don't receive anything from the township, then you'll revisit, maybe ask, okay, gotcha.
That sounds good to me.
Gotcha.
I agree.
All right, I moved the United Way request from the yes list to the allocated promise list because we did the resolution that week, and of course, now these numbers are a little bit different, but I'm gonna go ahead. The total allocated or promised is now $28,905,965.02 out of $38,557,293.88. The remaining unallocated unpromised funds are $9,651,328.86, and of course, the, BOE roof numbers that changed today are gonna change these numbers.
Sure.
The total on the yes, and again, because I zeroed these out, this will be completely different, but as it stood yesterday when I did this, it's, $5,216,524.63. If they're all all approved by legal, we're at $4,434,804.23 remaining, and you have the now not current, yes, spreadsheet. I have one more thing, but before I get to number 9, the land bank did obviously come in today, and I'd like to know what you would like me to do, if you want me to submit to legal, if you want, what your pleasure is on that.
On the most recent,
Yes,
but there was already 2 million committed,
there was $2 million committed.
and they
They've spent
used
250,000 of it, so there's $1,750,000 left.
2 million was committed by resolution from the board.
Well,
Here's the problem.
yeah, well, first of all, that one,
Well, that's a different issue.
that's a whole different issue, and we can go back and check that. However, they did have an application for 2 million, and there is a resolution prior to getting an attorney, all of that, and that resolution, I think, is 2.75 or
2.75.
2.75, but it doesn't say where from. It just.
What do we have on our spreadsheets? What do we have them listed as?
I have them listed as 2 million, because that's what I inherited.
And I'm trying to get a legal opinion on that, yeah.
Okay, are you okay with that, too?
Yeah.
Getting a legal opinion on
Well,
it?
there was specifically an ARPA application.
Correct.
For the
For-
Ween building.
for
and it's
2 million.
under 2 million.
And then there was a
And there
separate
wasn't
application for the
Well, it won't be
fairground, for the fair building demolition, which was
500,000,
500,000.
which,
Right.
TNP actually tore down themselves, I believe.
Without, right,
No cost to the
with no
county.
cost. So, 'cause that application was denied.
But working with the apples that we have, apples to apples, it's just 2 million on the spreadsheet. We're only gonna spend 250.
Right.
So with the math we have here now, we got
It was-
1.75 still left.
And it would cost,
An additional
if you
250.
approve for the 200, it would be, another 250, correct?
And also the fact that since the application specified the Ween building, that's why it's important that we find out the actual 195 residential and 26
Right,
commercial
and he's
in
gonna
different parts
send,
of the community.
he's going to send me that,
Correct.
to send on. So when I get that, I will,
Yeah, 'cause that doesn't
Mr.
specify in the application.
Misaki will submit it.
I mean, it specifies the 195 and 26, but not where.
Right,
Right.
right.
Do you?
look at them real quick, they're not
Well, can
Well,
you,
no,
can you
it- yeah,
email
it
them
would-
to us?
Right, well, and Matt said that he would
Yeah,
email that
or
to
it's
me.
just a visual wouldn't help.
I just-
Julie knows no
right.
more of the
And
qualified census tracts
maybe
and
Julie
the
can also
impacted
talk a
areas.
little bit about the importance of
Yeah.
this and what it would
Yeah,
be.
sure,
Yeah.
Julie Green, are we still on?
Yep, we still are.
So Ashley is the new land bank manager. So I just wanted to clarify a couple of things for people that might be listening. This is a Trumbull County Land Bank grant. It's not, TNP is the designated nonprofit that runs the land bank. And so, we are part of the land bank. The commissioners are, the treasurer,
Member.
yeah. And so just wanted to clarify that. And so they are the only entity that can apply for these grants. And as they mentioned, the more money that's designated, the more money they can apply for, and they will get it because they're one of the best in the state of Ohio. But under demolitions, and I haven't read the new final rule, but under CDBG, demolition qualifies under national objective under spot, slum, and blight. So you've got limited clientele, you've got area-wide clientele, which would be your census tract,
Mhm.
and then you've got slum and blight, removal of slum and blight as a national objective. I mean, for 23 years, the state has been allowing us to remove houses through demolition under spot, slum, and blight. So if it qualifies under CDBG, under that, I don't see it, where it would really make a difference where they're located in terms of census tract, but rather we could say that it qualifies under that. Again, I haven't read the new final rule.
Well, and I just felt, Martha, you're Trumbull County Auditor, I felt that the more information that we
Yeah.
could give, the better decision we're gonna have.
Yeah, no, I agree. I'm, the other, I mean, obviously, there's a lot of ins and outs, that the legal person in charge of this knows a lot more about this than I do. But I do know a lot about CDBG.
I would feel optimistic it would be qualified
Yeah, I hope so.
expenditure.
Because road repaving and resurfacing is an eligible activity under CDBG.
Yeah.
But in this case, you're saying it's not. And I don't know if this is an option or not for it to qualify under ARP, but if you wanted to income survey your household,
Where Jacoby probably wouldn't qualify.
if more than 51%, are, qualify as LMI, I don't know if that would make a difference to get these roads, because that's what we have to do when we need CDBG.
Well, and that's, I think, if I understand the new rules, that's kind of where it comes down to,
Yeah.
is those income eligibility. So I don't know, if that's a question for Attorney Rogers, I guess.
They also look at service area, so if McCleary Jacoby just serves the people on that roadway, then that would be the population that you would income survey. If it serves a larger area, then you'd have to define that and survey that whole area, according to the HUD income survey, which, I don't know if that's something that's even, if that is a possible solution to help these entities, we could share all of that information with the trustees. We've worked with trustees all along to try to get areas surveyed and qualified for CDBG, so. That answer, anyway.
Okay, and just to, clarify, because she will ask, you are authorizing Mr. Masaki to send that on to legal, both of you, correct?
Yes.
Thank you.
Dollar amounts can change though.
Yes,
Yes,
dollar amounts can change,
I'm just saying,
just
I'm not saying they will, I'm just saying.
scope of the project, just,
Scope
that's
has
a
changed.
large-
right, and
Scope has changed
I'm
$1.
not adding it to anything right now, I'm just,
No.
it's just gonna kinda be
I just wanna make that
its own thing for now,
distinction.
right, out there.
And it needs to be expedited in order to meet the
Right,
grant
and that's,
deadline.
and
Okay.
so,
Yeah, that's
Matt
good.
is supposed to send me
Mhm.
the further information. I have that from you, and Mr. Masaki will send it on to Tanya as soon as possible today, all right?
Martha, can you also look for the next spreadsheet next week? I see the board before me allocated $250,000 for legal, to see where we are with that, on that, with her and her.
Actually, I have that, to be honest with you, but I don't have it right here, 'cause
Okay.
that's part of what I spent a few hours doing last night, is you had asked me to do, a draft of the allocated promise with columns, and you had actually wanted a separate one, but I felt like it should just be on the same one for ease of look, right? Columns with funds that have been spent and funds that are encumbered. I actually have a draft of that completed, I did that last night.
Okay.
But I wanted to review it with department heads, specifically Mr. Slowinski, and Mr. Newbrow, just to make sure I got things in the right place. I can certainly, email the board today with those numbers. I have those, I just don't have them right here.
I just wanna see where we're at, if we're halfway
Sure.
to that.
Oh, we're not, at least to date, what I have to date, and of course, there's a lag, right?
Right.
So, but right now, we're, like, I don't think we're halfway, but I can get that for
Give
you,
me a,
okay? But that will be,
If you were.
so
gonna-
I can also tell you what we spent, and that's on your sheet here. $13,169,032.27 has actually been spent, actually been paid to grant recipients or to vendors who have done work on county buildings, things like that. There's a total of $3,963,290.27 still encumbered. Part of that is an encumbrance for our accounting and legal as well, but I'll give you what we spent on legal and what we currently have encumbered for that.
Okay.
And I think that's it. Like I said, today changed a lot of numbers, and I'll have to kind of give that back to you next week. That's all I have for ARPA, unless you guys have some questions on that. I did have a couple other things.
There was also, Jim Masaki, there was an inquiry from Eastgate late yesterday in the afternoon wanting if there was any, movement on their request for the $50,000 for that employee.
And that is, that's on the maybe sheet.
Yeah,
That was
it was
one
on
that
the
you were
maybe.
gonna go back to.
As they,
That's the data coordinator, broadband coordinator.
yeah,
Yes.
they indicated that Ashtabula and Mahoning County had, approved it.
I'm gonna defer to Nick, 'cause he's been spearheading, and you, on the planning commission. Is that something that's necessary, or is it Nick that's sort of spearheading that for us?
Yeah, I'm not as familiar with that. I thought we were waiting for feedback from the attorney on the $1 million request.
True, that's on the list.
Let's hold off on that
Okay.
until we find that out.
All right.
Then we'll-
I mean, if
then
you want me
we'll
to
tackle
call
that.
him, I can.
But that's, okay, go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
But yeah, we had, so we have two different ones. I think it's actually 1.5 million.
Yeah, it was 1.5.
That we've moved to the yes one. That's on the list, but it's not on the immediate list for,
It's not been submitted.
it's not been submitted. It was not, we had some that were ahead. If that needs to be expedited for some reason, you guys would need to do that.
Nick's on speaker.
Okay.
Nick, they're questioning what was the dollar amount?
$50,000.
$50,000 request from Eastgate. They wanted to know what.
To hire that coordinator, broadband coordinator, is that something that's necessary? I mean, you're our point person on this. You know, you've been spearheading it for Trumbull County, I know that. Is that something that is beneficial to us, or or are you handling those duties essentially?
No, that would be above and beyond. What I've been doing is coordinating for Trumbull County, but there is just, on top of economic development, on top of housing, we don't have the capacity to be the broadband coordinator as well. We could be the point of contact.
Okay.
But Eastgate is having somebody do nothing but broadband, and this would help pay for them. They've done it for the past 2 years and have funded it through other grants, and they would like to keep that going. So it would be extremely beneficial to have it, depending on how necessary it is, I guess, is your viewpoints of it, but it would be extremely beneficial to have, yes.
Nick, and did you have any feedback from Ashley yet?
I have called her and left her a message. She has not called back. I tried to get some information by looking back at her email. I think they're just more or less asking for the support of the commissioners to side with them on the PUCO dispute, Public Utilities Commission of Ohio.
Yeah, there's no monetary commitment, just a letter of support, right?
Right, but if they're not our provider, Commissioner Malloy wanted to know what what would benefit us to offer our support, or, potentially,
Outside of, I guess, showing the community support, for the Public Utilities Commission for review, I don't know that there would be.
Okay. Well, we'll find more out when we talk with her.
Yeah.
All right, thanks.
Yeah. No problem.
Thanks, Nick.
Thanks.
So I guess
Bye.
Martha Yoder, Trumbull County Auditor, I guess the next question then is, do you want that moved, 2 questions. Do you want that moved to the yes sheet then, the broadband coordinator for $50,000? And the broadband request itself, that I think it's 1.5, Jim and I had talked about this, is do you want that, put to the top of the list on, legal opinions?
Prioritize it.
I certainly would, yeah.
Okay.
I'd say we can put the broadband top of the list, but the coordinator, no. If we got 1.5, we're allocating for broadband.
So, all right, that's fine.
Let's see what she says with the 1.5 and everything.
Okay, the
There's no pressing.
all right, and when we say top of the list, we say after TNP is first, land bank is first, the ones that we had in the queue are next and then the broadband, or do you
That's
want, okay.
Yeah, leave
Are
it
you
at
all right with that?
Yes,
Commissioner?
of course.
Great.
Anything else on broadband, or?
No.
Just real quick, and I'm not gonna take a lot of time, but yesterday I took, a tour of Veterans Outreach. I know that they put in their proposal of their new facility that they're moving into. This is I'm not gonna have a long spiel, but they help literally thousands of veterans every year. And I wanted to enter it in for the record. Liberty Township has sent us, and I met Mr. Chismar out there, who's a trustee and does a fine job for Liberty, out there, and we toured the new facility. I wanted to submit it for the record that this is Liberty Township's, letter of support to, for that project, Veterans Outreach, which is located in Liberty Township. The new facility for new windows in the project is gonna be, phenomenal. It's actually the old Arby's, Corporation headquarters in Liberty. And they've already put in a ton of money into this facility. They're moving from, Belgrade to Colonial, which is almost just like across the street. And I heard they wanted me to ask all the commissioners to come out and tour the new facility. John, Eli and Terry Eli, do a phenomenal job with the organization. They pass every audit. They are completely above board as far as a nonprofit, and they are dedicated to helping our veterans. So that's just, I want to enter that in. If the commissioners didn't get that, make sure that they get that. That's a letter of support from Liberty Township in support of that project for the Veterans Outreach Building, so.
Martha Yoder, Trumbull County Auditor. Lisa, if you could please, scan that and send it to me. I will add it to the, Commissioner's Drive with the request.
Thank you.
And I had a couple more things that weren't ARPA. I just wanted to let the commissioners know that I've set a meeting with Mr. Valesky, who bought the McFarland Funeral Home. He and I and Bill Hart are meeting Thursday at 3 to just discuss parking options, things like that. I also wanted to clarify just a couple things from last Wednesday's meeting. I explained that it was not my job to send out tax bills, it was the treasurer's. And I don't want to imply that the treasurer should be sending out early tax bills either. I had 2 points there. One, that the other commissioner was wrong in stating that I would be the one that would send those out, but also that she was wrong as far as the process goes. Values have to be finalized by the state prior to any taxes being applied, and actually, those values have to have it, there has to be a notice, and then we can't apply taxes for 30 days. So this process is a process that's statutory. There's nothing that either Treasurer Layman Kusa or myself can do to like put out tax bills right now. As it is, the legislation that's pending within the legislature is going to kind of mess with those statutory timelines as well, and we may actually have to do property taxes later. The County Auditors Association actually, we're for trying to get relief to the citizens, but we're not, for it on the basis of the values. We're like on the tax end of things. We would like to see them do things like expand the homestead, things like that would actually give relief to people who really need it.
Absolutely.
So, we're advocating for that within the legislature. But as far as right here and right now, we cannot, neither myself nor Mr. Layman Kusa can issue tax bills. I'm just sorry that Mr. Smith has left already, but it's okay. The other thing is, there was a question raised about the gap conversion and why we don't do it internally. Unlike what the commissioner stated, that gap conversion process is not a simple process. It's a specialty within accounting. We do not have anyone within our office who does that. And statewide, there are many, many counties that do exactly what we're doing, including county to the north, Ashtabula, who uses Julian Group. Also, and what the process is basically, so that folks know, generally accepted accounting principles, GAAP, right, is done on an accrual basis. Our county and many, many other government entities work on a cash basis. In order for it to be auditable, it has to go from cash to accrual. It has to be converted. That's what Julian Group does, all right? Also, with regard to that contract, there was something mentioned about an advertisement and seeing an advertisement. We don't advertise, we're not required to do that. Again, it's a very specialty service, it's under a certain amount of, money. What we did do was we reached out by email to other accounting firms that were recommended to us by the auditor state, and including the auditor state. So, and that was what we got. That was the response that we got. So I wanted to make sure that that was clear.
Very good. Well, the one question I had for you, because I got this question this week. The big thing now, people are going to the site, they're seeing what their land valuation was and what their improvement value was and what it is now.
Mm-hmm.
If they want to appeal that, and there was a homeowners association group in Cortland, they lived on a golf course,
Mm-hmm.
and all their properties doubled, and they said the golf course is gone, we have a big weed field now, we used to be able to
So there's,
be on the ninth tee or
Okay.
ninth
so
green.
there's two ways to do this. First of all, there's an informal review, and those can be scheduled right online. So where they're getting their property, their new tentative values, there's actually two buttons that will take them to that, to the sign-in sheet, Sign Up Genius. And those those reviews can be done either in person, by phone, or by Zoom, and they can pick however they want to do it.
Okay.
All right, and
the question came up was, can a homeowners association representative represent all of the units in there on that street,
So
or do they have to do it individually?
What they could do is, there's also numbers on there to call with regard to commercial and multiple properties. They can call that number and we can schedule a review, a specific review just for that.
Okay.
We'll be glad to do that. The other thing is that as individual homeowners, if they do an informal review, even if they don't do an informal review, if they wait and see what the actual tax implications are, from January 1st to March 31st, they can file a formal complaint with the Board of Revision, and they will get a hearing on that.
Gotcha. Okay, very good. Tacey, you have anything with 911? You've been sitting here so patiently the whole day.
No, well, we're meeting after, but Tacey Bond, 911, the only thing really going on right now is we are still hiring. Have a couple more applicants in the chute, waiting to get the people currently being trained through training, so we have somewhere to put them. Looking at some alternative ways to do that. Gonna be advertising for some supervisor positions to give us some much-needed floor supervision. Patty and I have our hands full with everything else. RFP has gone to legal. I'm going to get that to you guys for hopefully next week's agenda to get that put on. Does that need to go to you, Mr. Masaki, first, or? I don't know the process either.
No, for RFPs, it would be, if it's going to be through legal, that would be prosecuting.
Okay, yep,
Yeah.
then it's already gone through that, so then we're good to go there. So that'll be for consultant services for the feasibility study for potentially the new building sites or renovation sites, so we can move forward on that. Have met with the police and fire departments in regards to raising the fees, as expected, with a couple of agencies that went over like a lead balloon. So we're working through those issues, and that's something else I'll be talking to you guys about. What else? Going to meet with the city of Warren in the very near future, after getting some guidance from you guys as well, on renewing their contract as it ends this year. So working through things, trying to get the 911 board reseated. The state law, Section 128 has changed, ORC, so instead of it being a 3-member board and having to meet quarterly, it is now a 6-member board, and you have to meet yearly. So, trying to get those members ID'd so we can get them invited and get that reseated, so we can start reviewing the 911 final plan and get that stuff taken care of.
Thank you.
That reminds me of something. Planning.
Lisa Blair?
Yeah, Lisa Blair. Yeah, planning was wanting to know if you had selected their,
Board?
yes. And I'd given all of you 3, I believe, put it in your,
We advertised for the positions, or,
I did, yeah,
and we got 3, just the existing,
yes.
okay.
Who's leaving planning? Or is
No
it
one.
someone-
No one, I don't believe.
Is it just a matter of if we want to reappoint?
Right, we have new application, I haven't seen any of that stuff yet, so we have new, or we have.
Julie Green, Trumbull County. To
You
my
have it.
knowledge, the 3 that are existing, that whose term is up, have submitted their resumes. It's my understanding that nobody else submitted. Correct.
Mhm.
So the 3 whose terms are up, who resubmitted to be considered for reappointment are
Bob Moody?
Yeah, Bob Nitty, Rachel Nader, and Melissa Miller.
And I'm fine to put all three back on.
And the terms are up at the end of the year here, right?
Correct.
Okay. So sometime we need to get them.
But we have advertised and this is what we got,
Correct.
just the reappointment.
I do know we have some seats coming up also on senior levy board, so that's
Okay.
something too, we need to put that out there, that those seats are expiring and we need
Sure.
to advertise those also.
I don't know if those are gonna be, if the people are gonna be seek reappointment or they're gonna be vacant.
I don't know, but
Yeah.
regardless, I wanna make sure everybody
Oh, no,
knows
absolutely.
about all these
Yeah.
board seats as they come up. Alex?
Yes, Alexander DiMaggio, Bush, Human Resources Department. I would like to kind of piggyback off just kind of what Casey said, and honestly off ARPA as well. I know that the goal here, I know I've sat through and listened, is to obviously service all of the townships and all of that. I am asking the commissioners with, if there is money left over, I need to make sure that everybody's aware that health insurance costs were self-funded. So health insurance cost is going up daily. So right now, employee shares haven't moved since 2018. That means we're absorbing, as the employer, we're paying for so think about this, 2018 to 2023, that's a lot of years that have gone by that there's been a huge increase to health insurance. Being self-funded, that means the employer is taking on responsibility. We're not charging that back to the employees because we're contractually bound not to. So
Are
keep
we
that in mind.
negotiating that in?
We are absolutely I am going to be negotiating that out, I'm putting that out point blank, so come prepared, because we cannot afford to stay at 2018 rates. We're in 2023. A lot happened since then. COVID, our exposure limit has gone up. We have many of employees in this county who are ill, very ill, with cancer diagnoses and treatments are going up, costs of medications are going up. So I want to just kind of warn, the commissioners that we're okay, we're self-funded, we have a nice reserve imbalance, but it's getting to the point where we need to address that. So, long story short, I'm asking for, potentially just to keep your eyes on the lookout for health insurance costs rising. Also, salaries. I also want to talk about that too, going into contract negotiations. I already know that CSEA has had to come to the table and ask for money just to get us through a regular 2% potential cost increase. And that is below the service standards right now. So I just want to put all these things out there because it's coming to a theater near us very soon, and it's all going to hit at one time. What I mean by that is I'm trying to actually strategically plan and saying all the contracts are up for renegotiation here within 2024 to 2026. Health insurance is on the rise. And then last but not least, obviously, we have capital improvements within our own backyard, being that we're over budget in 911 and dog pounds, as well as the sheriff's department over $3 million in overtime. So these are all things, I know that you're thinking, how does this have anything to do with human resources? But strategic planning is human resources. So long story short, I am putting this all out there for you guys. We really, really, really need to look strong, hard, and wisely make decisions on, because things that we can use ARPA money on too, that's left over, is these things, right?
Right.
We can use it for salaries. That is why it's there. We could use it for health insurance costs specifically because it is a detriment from COVID, and the pandemic has increased all of these things. We really need to start thinking long-term and a little bit outside the box. I'm just throwing it out there for you guys.
Some hard numbers too, as to
Absolutely.
how much that increase has affected us.
I found out
and
today,
what we're-
so.
Okay.
I just got the email this morning, so I will be putting that out. It actually will be coming into the commissioners' meeting next week.
Okay.
So for approval for COBRA rates for 2024, as well as department charges back to the department. And it's a significant increase, so it's going up about $80 a medical plan that we're absorbing as departments and as
Until we can
employers.
negotiate.
Until we can negotiate the 12%. So we're flat at 12% for most of the contracts, and we really, I'm gonna put it very frankly, we really kicked ourselves in the butt with that, it is what it is, but it's set in the contracts that we cannot go above the 12%. Everybody's locked in. So we can't raise.
Are those insurance rates what we need for preparing our next year's budget?
You got it, yep.
Will you be sharing those with
Next week, the commissioners will formally approve them. I can't share anything until we've approved it, but yes, it'll be coming in next week.
before we submit our?
Yeah, so that's another thing that I was gonna say, guys. Another note that I have written down, thank you, Julie. 11/13 budgets are due, so that's why I'm kinda having these conversations now. So, Casey, it's your first time doing a budget. It's, all of these things are really important when you're thinking ahead for 2024 budgets. I find that we're constantly I'm hearing that we're not maybe budgeting enough for these things. So really make sure you're taking a look at your workman's comp rate, that there's a new clerical rate, 0.022%, which is lower, that was put out.
That's for
That's for clerical work, so you're not customer interfacing.
Right.
You're not actually dealing with individuals on a day-to-day basis. So what I would say is, my HR department, I'm putting us under that, the .022. We don't.
And some of ours,
And some
not
of
ours.
ours, yeah.
Not all, but
It
some of
wouldn't
ours.
work for, police and fire, obviously. It doesn't work for them.
Right.
They have a different rate anyways, but.
Clerk of courts,
Right.
certain
Treasurer,
positions,
potentially,
yeah.
reporters.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anybody who's not
Yeah.
public facing, that will be do you have, public, and I guess you can, Martha Yoder, Trumbull County Auditor, I think the definitions, we'd have to rely on HR to help us with some of that. But, things that are obviously public facing, absolutely not. My people that work the counters, if they work the counters and somebody's coming in and out and they are always working the counters, though, that doesn't, because
Correct.
obviously there's a higher risk when you're public
There
facing.
is. Okay.
But if you have someone, like I do, I have a whole crew of people who work in accounts payable and payroll
Yep.
and all of that, they're in the back, no, they're not coming in and answering questions, and those folks, fall under that, the new one.
So some things that I just want to make sure, and maybe I can put this out in a generic email. If the commissioners don't mind, I've kind of been doing kind of just like updates every week of what we need to be on the lookout for department heads, since we don't. But yeah, budgets are due 11/13. So please make sure you're really looking at, when you're doing your budgeting, make sure you're looking at vacation cash out. And roll that into your salaries. Things that I don't think we're always thinking about. Vacation, cash out, longevity payments, and also remember to do it for the next year, right? So we're not doing longevity as it is in 2023, you need to look at longevity for 2024.
Right.
So kind of like just tips to have, but it all matters when we're doing our budgets, because that's probably more than likely why we can potentially be falling under budget when it comes to salaries, and stuff like that. You gotta anticipate for the future.
We've gotten mixed responses on what to include and not to include, so
Sure.
it would be
Well-
helpful to get maybe
Like a template?
I was just going to suggest, particularly for payroll, Martha Yoder, Trumbull County Auditor, Christy is we're actually working on our budget for the payroll right now, and she has a very good template of what she does.
That would be
I know
helpful.
that in the past, sometimes things weren't always encouraged to be put in when they should be put in.
Yeah.
That's not how we are
Then they
going
would
to
be
do
made
it going
whole.
forward.
So I am glad that you
Right.
say that.
And I was kind of waiting, but, Christy and I are absolutely wanting to do a much more realistic budget,
Yeah,
so that we're not just, we'll figure it out at the end, we're not doing that.
I think that helps department heads and
And
everybody else.
I think we've tried to communicate that to the ones that we've had contact with when she's been talking to folks about the budget. And I will say, yes, we have some increased expenses, we realize that. One thing, too, before I get to what I wanna say, the other thing that we're seeing people leaving out or postponing to a place where it gets to be almost critical, software updates.
Oh, good, yeah. Very good
We
call.
need to, technology is the foundation of this county. We have to use it for every single thing that we do. If we wait till we're holding things together with bubble gum and paper clips, that is not the time to do it. The time to do it is before you need it. And, that's what we're trying to do with Office 365 and our rollout to get it to where we're at. But many of our departments use specialized software. They maybe need an update, they don't put it in the budget, and then they come later and ask for it. We need to have it in the budget, and we need to know those costs. And sometimes that's hard to get from the geeky people, because they don't like that. They like to just, but you have to do it. What is it gonna cost, right? We need to know that. And we don't want surprises. I'd rather not be dealing with surprises next November, next October. I'd rather deal with reality. But the other thing is, there is some good news on our budget stuff, in that our revenues are more than estimated right now.
Great.
Our sales taxes are more than we
Been on the
estimated.
uptick for some
Our
time.
investment income, because interest rates are so much higher, is really good. So, those things that we're talking about being short, we're gonna be fine.
That's good.
It's not, I know you look at that, 'cause
Yeah.
you hear everybody talk, but you don't hear us talking about the revenue. So that part of it is gonna be okay. We're not, the county's not out of money, right? I don't print it in my office, contrary to popular belief, but we're not gonna run out of it.
And by no means, that's
But we
not,
wanna be
you know,
conservative. Obviously, even next year, when we're projecting our revenues next year, we're looking at that right now too, and we're not saying, oh, we're gonna get exactly what we've gotten this year. We're looking at somewhere between what we estimated for this year and what we actually got, so that we're trying to play it as safe as we can. But we wanna know. Now, if we have to trim things, if we look at a budget and we'll talk to you about it. We're not gonna go, well, can't have that. We're gonna talk to you about it, and we wanna know priorities. You know, if there's things that are wishes and things that are crucial, that kind of stuff. Definitely wanna do it a little differently than it's been done in the past.
and by no means do I bring up these things to say that we don't have the money, Martha. I just wanna make sure that we're having the conversation
Sure, absolutely,
holistically,
and we
so that
tried to
we
do that,
realize that
and
we
we
have.
tried to do that as
Right.
far as our updates, and we're gonna come back, and, you know, Christy and I are gonna come back and talk some more.
I think a lot of times, and it's more so me advocating for department heads, I know this sounds crazy, but we kind of work in our silos.
Yep.
And we don't hear these conversations, you know, that it is okay, or that we do have the funds, you know, so I'm just trying to bring us kind of all together, so
Right.
we're all working
Right.
on the same page.
Yep.
I was about to uninvite you to next week's meeting, Alex, and Martha saved you.
Too much doom and gloom.
That's right. No Grim Reaper talk.
No,
Actually, you have to look at it as I'm helping department heads budget
we
correctly.
we wanna make sure, and I appreciate it, I wanna make sure that we do have realistic outlook. It's not like, oh, we'll fix it at the end. We're not gonna do that.
And you have a lot of new department heads too, who haven't necessarily done budget, I mean, right? We have a lot of new department heads, it's actually a training and an educational
Right.
comment, believe it or not.
Casey's gonna be a rock star budgeter.
She is gonna be around.
I'm used to getting my budget and staying within my budget, so the whole make you whole at the end of the year just blows my mind.
Right.
I need
Well,
to, just give me the amount I
It's
need
not,
to cover
it's
my
not gonna,
salaries
it's,
and-
so
Yeah.
it's good.
So
It kind of
a
blew
whole
my
nother
mind,
process?
kind of blew my mind too.
I just have two more things.
Like a commercial says upon.
Number one, I wanna
Can I
advocate
get
for the
one
Little
too?
Yellow House as a promoter of historical societies countywide. I don't know if everybody knows the background on this, I'll give you the short version. So, as you know, it was relocated after it was donated to Howland Township Historical Society by Jason Altobelli to their historical society because of the Diverging Diamond Project, which was the topic of today's meeting. And MS Consultants, John,
Oh, John, black hair.
yes. He's gonna kill me, 'cause I can't remember his last name.
I know, me.
Anyhow, John from MS, who's been around for 40-plus years.
Mercurio?
No, not
No.
John Procuri. Took it upon himself
He has red
to,
hair.
different John, to, assist the, all volunteer Howland, Historical Society to get through the rigorous ODOT process, which is not easy. If you've ever had to do it, you would know it's not easy. And so,
John Pirco.
yeah, John Pirco, great guy. And every time he sees me, he says he owes me for getting him involved, I'm half jokingly, I think. I mean, it was a difficult process, but anyhow, they got through it. They moved the house. You could see every time you go by there, it's right across from the school, that they make improvements.
Right, and much of
And-
what they requested is.
And it really is, I mean, it's the most I think it's the oldest home in Howland, which is our largest township, and so, long story short, more money, plus Cindy Mines is a rock star, I don't know if you know her.
Absolutely.
It was a major sum of money to make that move too.
Yeah, well, it's required under NEPA, so the National Environmental Protection Act of whatever year it was passed, protects, historic and cultural features like that when, the Ohio Department of Transportation comes in and wants to just bulldoze everything, they have to take a look at these types of, structures and say, we're gonna give you the opportunity to move it, we're gonna provide funding for it. Yeah, it was several $100,000, but, if that did not happen, then we would have no historic houses. Right, I think it's a good thing. And then I had a question from a township about our sub deals online. Sorry.
I know you've had some
Yeah.
experience
Oh,
with it, no?
Not for many years.
Okay, well, who's in charge of gov deals? I don't wanna bug you if it's not something.
We are, it's supposed to be Amy. We haven't gotten to that yet with her.
Put under,
Well, this is more of a legal, yeah, I understand. This is more like a legal question.
Well, you can ask,
the,
I can always see if I
yeah,
can
if
help
the,
you.
well, if the county wanted to just give property, not, donate it to a township, can they do that?
through gov deals?
Through any,
Um,
just regular assets?
To another political entity, there is provisions in the code, but there's a code section on that.
Okay. So it is legal?
But it wouldn't have anything to do with gov deals.
No, but, I mean, I wasn't sure what path to lead them down.
Yeah, the prosecutor's office, I know, has given opinions in the past on that
Okay.
issue.
All right, so you think it would be okay?
Well, no, I'm saying there's a process.
That's a Danzo question if I ever heard.
That's a Danzo
Oh,
question?
definitely, no, but
I'll call him on Friday,
but
that's
there is
what
a
I call him
process.
and bother him.
There is a process.
Okay, thanks, Jim. I knew you'd know the answer. All right, that's all I have.
He might
And I
be out
do-
this week, though.
Any
Oh,
furniture, like our
Cabinets,
whole of
pieces,
furniture.
personal property.
Warren Township needs furniture.
It's not real property, it's personal property.
Okay.
We were at Warren Township last night till 9:30 with their zoning commission and their trustees. 'Cause I guess they need.
Anybody else have anything? Good meeting today.
Yeah, I make a motion to adjourn,
Second?
that's my life.
Mr. Cantala Mesa,
Yes.
Mr. Malloy,
Yes.
Frenchco.
Hey, my